background noise there. Just remember you're on mute if you want to talk, I guess. I'm not sure. Anyway, for those here in person, speakers will be restricted to 3 minutes unless otherwise permitted. Minutes may not be donated or transferred from one speaker to another. Any comments or questions for the mayor and board may also be sent to the city clerk at tbareth@osagebeach.org no later than 10 a.m. on the board's meeting day, which is the first and third Thursday of each month. Submitted questions and comments may be read during the citizens communications section of the agenda. The Board of Aldermen will not take any action on any item not listed on the agenda, nor will it respond to questions, although staff may be directed to respond at a later time. The Mayor and Board of Aldermen welcome and value input and feedback from the public. With that said, is there anyone here in person who would like to address the board? All right, seeing none, we'll go on to the next item, which is one of the fun parts of the day, and that is the service award. So we've got the chief. I'll let you take over, Chief. We got a couple of good ones.
Yay.
If I could have Josh Johnson come up.
What's up, Puddin'?
So Josh he's one of our EMTs, and he's been with us now for 5 years as of August 1st. So in recognition of your 5 years of service, EMT Josh Puddin', as everybody affectionately knows Josh as, Johnson, thank you for your dedicated service above and beyond the call of duty to the citizens and visitors of Osage Beach. You are greatly appreciated. Thank you, sir, for your service.
Thank you.
And we have your... Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We'll let April get a picture.
How do you want to do this? Yes, sir.
There you go.
All right, thank you. Thank you,
Very
guys.
good. Thank you, Josh.
And if I can have Matt Schwinn come up front. So earlier today we had Matt's retirement reception. Matt's retiring after 31 years as a police officer with the city of Osage Beach. He started February 27th of '95, and July 17th was his last day. We hate to see Matt go. He was awarded a nice statue earlier today and a license plate. And what I have now for Matt is his retired badge from Osage Beach. So I want to present you with that. It's a memento from us, and you can keep it and use it all the time. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
We certainly thank them both for their service. We wish Matt well. Matt's been my neighbor for 25 years, and I'm glad to hear he's staying, but I am going to miss the police car in the neighborhood. Good luck to you, Matt. Okay, next item is the approval of consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the minutes of the Board of Aldermen meeting from July 16, 2026, the bills list for the August 6, 2026, and new liquor licenses from Classic Red Hots at 950 Hatchery Road. And before we go any further, Alderman McKay, is the liquor license in order?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Okay, are there any questions or concerns around the items on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Collins, do I hear a second?
Second.
Alderman Hoffman, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Oh, got a delay. I'm going to have to be careful for.
Got it delayed.
All right. Next item is unfinished business. Bill 2683, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, establishing a procedure to disclose potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest for certain municipal officials. This is the second reading. Tara Barrett, City Clerk.
I have nothing new to add unless anybody has any questions. Thank you.
Do I hear any questions or concerns? Seeing none, I just need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Is that Alderman George?
Yes.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Alderman Rucker. All those in favor? Oh, roll call, please. I'm sorry.
Aye.
Alderman Hoffman.
Yes.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
Alderman McKay.
Yes.
Alderman Collins.
Yes.
Alderman George.
Yes.
Alderman Osteen.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving on to new business. First item is a proclamation authorizing the mayor to proclaim the week of August 19th through 25th of 2026 National Aviation Week. I have that proclamation here, and it reads, whereas the National Aviation Week was first observed in 1939 by President Franklin D. Roosevelt, and whereas August 19th is the anniversary of Orville Wright's birthday, the younger of the Wright brothers, renowned American aviation pioneers, and whereas citizens and aviation enthusiasts are encouraged to celebrate the history of aviation, remember how far we've come as a nation, and support the future of aviation, and now, therefore, I, Richard Ross, Mayor of Osage Beach, Missouri, in cooperation with communities throughout our great nation, do hereby proclaim August 19th through 25th of 2026 as National Aviation Week, and encourage all Osage Beach families to take part in learning more about our country's aviation at museums and aviation events. And witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the great seal of the city of Osage Beach to be affixed this 6th day of August, August 26th. We hope everybody enjoys aviation, because it sure is nice to fly around when you want to get somewhere. Okay, next item is Bill 2678, an ordinance of the city of Osage Beach, Missouri, creating a new article and section within Chapter 405, Article 6B, Data Center and Co-location Facilities, Section 405.587, Data Center and Co-location Facilities, and additions to Section 405.020, Definitions as set forth. This is a first reading. City Planner Kerry Patterson, take it away.
Yes, Mayor Ross, members of the board. So I realize that this is a very detailed and in-depth ordinance. What I would tell you is that the planning department first took this ordinance to the planning commission back in June, and they forwarded it to the board at that time. But in the meantime, our attorneys with Lauber got a hold of it and sent back some recommendations for some additions based on their experience with writing these type of ordinances for data centers in the St. Louis area. Went through their recommendations, and the function of what they did is they differentiated between the types of data centers that we may encounter, to include micro data center, which is basically a data center that provides little to no impact to surrounding properties. The standard data center, which is, larger, but is one of those that won't necessarily impact the surroundings quite as much as obviously the major data center, which is probably the type that most of us are accustomed to seeing in the news and those type of things. And just to kind of hit the highlights of the situation, standard and major data centers will only be able to build within the community with a special use permit in the heavy industry zone. Micro data centers, again, which have very little to any impact on surrounding properties, will also be available with a special use permit in the commercial zone. As part of their application for their special use permit, they will have to provide for aesthetic standards, studies and plans for noise and vibration mitigation, water usage, which is obviously probably something that we've heard quite a bit about. And one of the things they will have to provide is something from the Water Authority, which obviously in the city of Osage Beach would be from our water department, that says that our system has capacity to handle the type of facility that they're putting in. Energy consumption, which is also one of the higher impact situations that these things can provide. They will have to provide us something from, of course, in this area, Ameren, along with any studies that are required by Ameren to show that we can handle their type of input to our system. Transportation, the micros and the standard data centers probably won't have much impact on some of our transportation systems, but the major probably would. They have a number of employees plus large trucks. They'll have to provide us with studies and plans on how they will mitigate any capacity issues that we may have on our transportation systems. And then, of course, we also talk about the parking for data centers, the signage for their centers, and then how things will be approved as part of this. Again, it's got some things in there that I'm still trying to wrap my own head around to a degree. What I will tell you is there's a very good chance, especially on the major data center facilities, that the review of these will have to be done by outside groups other than ourselves, whether it be engineers who do this type of thing, that the city will look to hire their services for any type of review that we may need to do up above and beyond what we can provide from our service providing groups. With that, we took this back to the Planning Commission with the recommended changes from Lauber, and they forwarded it to the board tonight with a recommendation to approve.
Very good, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any questions or concerns? Alderman Hoffman.
Just a comment. This is something that I've been working on behind the scenes with Kerry Patterson and our attorneys, and then the other board members have jumped on. This is obviously a hot topic around our community. Just so the public knows, you cannot just ban data centers. That is not an option. So I think that we've taken steps here to mitigate the impact that could ever happen within our city limits, and to at least direct them to an area that wouldn't impact housing or business or the flow of how we do things in our community. So I strongly support this, and I think that we have done everything we can to protect our city with this ordinance.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'm looking for, was this unanimous, Carrie, at the P&Z?
This one was, yes, sir.
Yes, okay, very good. I'm just looking for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Alderman Collins, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Alderman Osteen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, I was trying to, not quite enough delay. Opposed? Motion carries, thank you. I'll just say great work, Carrie. I think you and the P&Z, Commission have done some great work here. This is a hot topic that a lot of us don't really know about. It just isn't supposed to be a good thing, and so we're trying to figure out how to solve for something we don't really understand. I think they've done a great job. Lauber
Yes, sir.
helped a lot.
It was also really nice, I listened into the P&Z meeting. It was also nice of the local expertise that we have.
Yes.
That was very impressive to me. That helped me understand it.
It was. Very good. Okay, we'll move on. Next item on the agenda is Bill 2682, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to sign a contract with Utilis Incorporated, doing business as Astera, for the Osage Beach Leak Survey in an amount of $46,500. First reading, Jeff Fisher, Public Works Director.
Thank you, Mayor. As you might remember, last year we did a first round of survey on one side of the lake, and this would do the other side. Plus, we decided to suggest we do the entire city with this technology. As stated in the memo, and as you know, our water loss was quite high this time last year at 30+%. You can see that through this survey and the additional work that Caleb and his team has done, we've made remarkable progress, and we're going to continue to make that progress. This will give us additional information to help us do that. We also think that this is worthy because it also may find leaks in the sewer system, and so we're curious about that, which would be valuable as well. And then I have Colton right here to answer any additional questions you might have.
All right. Alderman Hoffman.
This was a budgeted item, correct?
Correct.
And it comes in at budget,
Right.
cost-wise?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, it's, just for clarity, it's 13,500 under budget, if I'm reading that
So it's
right.
under budget.
Yes.
Well, that's what I was hoping he would say.
Well,
Good
just Get it
work.
out there clearly,
good
$13,500
work.
worth
It's
of
under
savings.
budget.
Nice job,
That's
Jeff.
right. That's all Colton. Yep.
All right, Cole.
And
Okay.
Caleb.
And Colton, good job.
Other questions or comments? I just have one quick question. Is this different technology than we used prior?
It is,
Okay.
yes. The company that did the work for us last year will be a sub to this company. So this is new technology. We're real excited about it. It's been used elsewhere and done a lot of research on it. And the ability to pick up on leaks from the other system, I think it has us curious.
That's great.
Yep.
All right. See no other comments or questions, just looking for a,
Motion to approve.
Alderman George, do I hear a second?
Second.
Alderman Rucker. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Jeez, sorry, Bill. Motion carries, thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is Bill 2684, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending Chapter 125 Human Resources System, which is Personnel Rules and Regulations. Section 125.160, Separation from Services, is set forth, and this is a first reading. Alderman Rucker, we'll let you take this one away.
Yes, I was the original sponsor and author of the original bill that was done quite some time ago, or rather than that long ago, sometime last year, I think it was, or year before. And since then, we've used it, and we found a few little things that needed to be tweaked out of it, and to make it.
Me? Are we in a submarine?
Up Periscope.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like, didn't it?
Anyway, found a few things that needed to be tweaked out of it, and that you can see there's just a few minor changes in it, and so we've made those changes to make it easier for us to be able to carry out our responsibilities. So, be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions or comments? All right. Seeing none, I'm just looking for a motion then.
Motion to approve.
Alderman Collins. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Alderman Hoffman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Ah, we got him that time. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item. Make sure I got this right. Bear with me here. Okay, 26. Okay, next item is Bill 2685, an ordinance of the City of Osage, Missouri, amending Section 110.170 of the Code of Ordinances regarding the election, tenure, vacancy, and succession of the acting president of the Board of Aldermen. This is first and second reading. Alderman Rucker.
Yes, after reviewing some of the ordinances that govern the Board of Aldermen, I felt that this ordinance needed to be revised to allow the board to better carry out our responsibilities as compared to the other ordinance. So the board has seen this for a week or two, I think, and there's been no discussion on it that I know of, but be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions or concerns? Alderman Osteen.
I have a few comments. I believe there's a general idea that this ordinance is basically aimed towards me specifically, based on my current situation. But I actually support this 100% on what Alderman Rucker has brought forth before the board. We have not had anything set in place for an absence of a president of the board for an extended period of time due to personal issues or medical leave, etc. So what he is doing is basically closing the gap on basically what the board has not had as an actual ordinance or written communication, that we would be able to move forward with what do we do on replacing a board president in that interim. For those that are not aware, I have actually resigned as president of the Board of Aldermen this past week, but we had nothing in place on the process on how we would replace me in that position. So I support this 100%. And once again, this is not pointed towards me. This is filling in a loophole or a gap that we really had no set process for as a board.
All right,
That's all.
thank you. Other comments or questions? Seeing none, looking for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Alderman Hoffman, do I hear a second?
Second.
Alderman Collins. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. I was too quick that time, wasn't I? I was. All right. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the second reading of Bill 2685 as previously read. Any questions or comments? Looking for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Alderman Rucker. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Alderman Osteen. Roll call, please.
Alderman George.
Yes.
Alderman Collins.
Yes.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
Alderman Osteen.
Yes.
Alderman Hoffman.
Yes.
Alderman McKay.
yes,
Motion carries. Thank you. And just for clarity, we did receive Alderman Osteen's resignation as president of the board. It will be made part of the record in our next meeting. I don't have the calendar in front of me 2 weeks from now. Pardon me? August 20th, unless we decide to have a meeting prior to that, it will be, the vacancy of the president of the board will be brought up then. Okay, thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is Bill 2686, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, adding to Section 405.670, Section 405.670D, exceptions to the city code is set forth. This is a first reading. Carrie Patterson, City Planner.
Yes, Mayor Ross, members of the board. So this is a request that was brought to me by a couple of members of the Board of Aldermen. It is an exception to our improvement of parking areas and parking lots in the city of Osage Beach, providing some flexibility for parking facilities that serve publicly owned and publicly accessible natural surface recreational trails, basically allowing them to use an approved dustless aggregate, which would be like a rock or a chat, as opposed to asphalt or concrete. They do have to meet all other requirements along with the ADA, and basically this situation was done specifically for, at this time, the trail system that's going through the community currently. I took this to the Planning Commission at their last meeting in July, and they forwarded it to you with a recommendation to approve.
All right, very good. Thank you, Carrie. Any questions, comments, or thoughts? Alderman Collins.
I just really want to say thank you to Carrie for helping to find a solution to this problem. I appreciate all the help that you gave me.
No problem.
Other comments or thoughts? Alderman Rucker.
Are they required any specific kind of rock, chat material so that the wheelchairs could get around on it if they needed to, as compared to big rock?
Yes, so they would be required the aggregate that we allowed, it will be like a smaller than 1 inch
Okay.
rock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all. I just thought about that, sorry.
And they do have to, they will still have an asphalt parking space for ADA as well. So there's no getting around that. This would be very similar to what you would see throughout the state park, where the state park has trailheads and they'll have aggregate parking lots, but there will still be an asphalt parking lot or parking space with a loading area that meets the ADA requirements.
Okay. Thank you.
Alderman Hoffman.
Is there a size limit to the parking lot structure or the parking area?
There's not a size limit. There would be a minimum size that could handle the amount of parking that they foresee having. It's a little bit different than a trail, with a trail than it is with maybe a store or a restaurant that requires a number of spaces for each seat or per square foot of gross sales floor area or something like that. But, in a situation like this, the vast majority of the time, they probably are looking at no more than 10 to 12 cars parking in their area. We always recommend that they make it a little larger than they're going to think in hopes that they are more popular than they think that they might be. But we don't have a maximum size, no.
And you don't really think there's any scenario where someone would want to put a 100-car parking facility around one of these trailheads, right?
I'm not going to say that they never would. I don't foresee them doing that on this one because I know the properties that they're putting their parking areas on, and they wouldn't accommodate it. I can't imagine, if we get a new project of some type in the future that meets the definitions that we have, we would just have to look at it at that point.
So we could come back and put a cap on the amount of square footage if we wanted to?
If you felt necessary to do so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else, sir? You're good?
Well, yeah, I don't want to tie future boards to changes that might occur in the city unforeseen 10 years from now. That's all.
All good. Alderman Osteen.
I've just got one question on why this is considered an exception and not just a straight-up requirement.
because it is an exception to all of our parking requirements within our code for any type of public use. So any type of public use that you would have throughout the community, whether it's a church or a park or anything like that, does require hard surface parking. This, in the past, would have required hard surface parking, and we want to provide an exception for the one use at this point, but it does allow there to, in the future, if the board deems necessary, the need to put further types of uses within this exceptions section, that the board can do so.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Well, I just want to say thank you to Alderman Collins for staying with us for a while, because I think this has been tossed around for a while, and we kind of challenged Carrie to try to help figure something out for us, and great job, Carrie, for doing so. I think the Trails folks are going to be very happy. With that being said, I'm just looking for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Alderman Collins, second by Alderman Osteen. How's that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Got it. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Next item, Bill 2687, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending Section 405.430, minimum dimensional requirements of the city code as set forth. This is a first reading. Carrie Patterson, City Planner.
Yes, Mayor Ross, members of the board. So this is sort of a cleanup slash time for an update on our front setback regulations within our code. And Alderman Rucker is always about, making sure we're kind of up with the times and things are understandable. And I think we're at a point now where that is necessary in this situation. So let me kind of give you a little bit of a rundown of what we're talking about. For example, the collector streets, as it is in there currently, mentions that all of our collector streets would be state designated lake roads. Well, there's about probably 5 of us in this room that still remember that there were different numbers for the lake roads. But in the near future, there's liable to be no one who has any idea what that's talking about. So what I wanted to do was, one, remove that and redefine what the roads are based on what their actual usage is, because not every collector street is the same as the other. The same with the arterial roads. And for example, in the old code, collector status streets required no building or structure may be permitted within 55 feet from the pavement center line. The first thing that I will say is using pavement center lines is extremely difficult, and it is not consistent because the pavement doesn't always fall within the middle of the right-of-way. However, from a survey perspective, the middle of the right-of-way is always consistent. It's in the same space, and it runs down, obviously, the middle of the right-of-way. So this is something that I'm wanting to do for the developers, for people who just wanting to build a house because they come to me and I'm like, yeah, you have to be 55 foot from the center line of the pavement. Well, how do I measure that? Do I just go out in the road and measure the road, and then I measure this? And there's no survey point that tells them where the center line of the pavement is. And if you do that, the problem is if for some reason they end up 3 or 4 inches off of the middle of the pavement, they have a house that some title companies could consider non-conforming, and then that becomes an issue. So this is something that we're trying to make easier for the public. Go to the center line of the right-of-way, measure off, that does your setback. And the reason that I've differentiated with collector streets and arterial streets, currently it says with arterial streets, which would be KK, Route D, Highway 54, or Osage Beach Parkway, and Highway 42. The issue there is that Osage Beach Parkway, which was previously Highway 54, and we don't use existing Highway 54 because there's no access that you can get off of it, so we don't worry about setbacks from a non-access road. But Osage Beach Parkway, as it sits now, has right-of-ways that go from 100 to 150 feet in different parts of the community, okay? So when you require 75 foot from the center line of the right-of-way, that creates an envelope that is equitable for every property owner, regardless of how far they are actually from the right-of-way. So just to give you an example, if you're on a 100-foot right-of-way and you're 75 foot and you meet that, you don't have to be an additional 25 foot back. But if you have property that fronts where the right of way is 150 feet, you have 75 at the edge of the right of way, and then we push you off further another 25 feet, which is kind of a twofold issue. One, you're putting people in an area where there's the transitions between 100, 120, 150, back to 100. Wicked Willie's would be a prime example. They front 150 feet, but less than 100 feet from them, it goes down to 120 feet. Well, that would allow the next door neighbor to build their building closer to the road, blocking the facility that Wicked Willie's or a new facility would put in. The old code, which I'll be honest with you, we've never in a commercial area required it says minimum front yard setbacks in all zoning districts is 25 feet as measured from the property line as provided below. Front yard setback requirements may be greater or lesser depending on what it says below. What we've always done off of Osage Beach Parkway is exactly what I'm talking about now. Below, it can be lesser than 25 feet because it says 75 foot from the center line. And if you're on a 150-foot piece, you could build right up to the property line. Well, the reason that I think that the minimum 25 foot was put in there as an afterthought is because there's a difference between residential and commercial. If you see what I put in there in the new code, is that all residential development must have a minimum of front yard setback of 25 feet. Well, in residential areas, you are creating an aesthetic, you're creating a safety buffer, and you're trying to create a yard. In commercial, you're not trying to do that. We actually, from a new urbanism look, you kind of like to have the buildings up closer to the road so they can put their parking facilities on the side or in the rear, because we don't really want, highly lit parking lots in the front of all of our buildings lining our major thoroughfares. So that's never been what the ideology behind the codes are. The second thing that I've done is I've differentiated with the arterials between Osage Beach Parkway and then 42D and Highway KK. And the reasoning is because the same ideology of pushing properties further off of the roadway. Osage Beach Parkway has 100 to 150 feet. 42 has a 50-foot right-of-way. KK has a 50 to 60-foot right-of-way. And D has a 40-foot right-of-way. So that's when I say, all collectors or all arterials are not created equal. They're not. So what this does is it provides the property owners that front these different arterials or collectors the opportunity to use more of their property, especially in the Lake of the Ozarks, where the property up closest to the road is the most developable portion of their property. So the fundamental ideology behind what I'm trying to do here is make it more understandable, differentiate between the uses, and make it easier for our people to use their property. I took this to the Planning Commission at their last meeting. They do recommend approval of it. I do have one amendment to this. I spoke to Tara and to Attorney Miller prior to number 7 on the new portion. It says street classification shall be determined by the city adopted major thoroughfare plan, or if not designated by the city planner, subject to appeal by the Board of Adjustment. The problem is street classification is not a zoning issue. And this is something that Todd had put in just to try to cover us. But classification is not a zoning issue, and it's not something that the Board of Adjustment has authority to make any kind of decisions on, okay? Street classifications are determined by definition and by what their relative usage is, what they're used for. If it's a collector street, it's like the old, Nichols Road that takes the majority of the traffic back to areas where they then turn onto local streets to get to their homes. What I am asking to change in this is just to have it now say street classification shall be determined by the city's adopted major thoroughfare plan, or if not designated by the city administrator and public works director, and then remove the appeal section of that of that sentence, simply because if a property owner wants to appeal the setback that they're required, they're already able to do so through the Board of Zoning Adjustment by way of the Board of Zoning Adjustment section in the code. So my recommendation would be to approve this, that comes before you with that amendment to number 7.
You want a planner or city administrator?
City planner.
You said city administrator.
Oh, did I? Okay.
Yeah, that's why,
No,
that
city
was my
planner.
question too.
Okay, I was like.
No,
okay.
city planner and public
Okay.
works director. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. That's what I thought we were doing. Thank
Okay.
you.
And do we have that printed verbiage that you just
I
recommended?
gave it to.
I got it.
I
You've
gave
got
to
it,
Tara.
Tara, right?
Pushing it right now.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, very good. Any questions or comments on this subject? Okay.
Thank you for bringing it up to today's times.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think it's a great cleanup. I mean, I listened to the P and Z, and it was unanimous, as I recall.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, seeing no questions or concerns, just looking for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Alderman Rucker. Second by Alderman George.
Throw the flag on that one.
Yeah, that was close,
thought it was
right?
an echo.
That was
I was here.
perfect timing.
Okay, you have to
Synchronization
motion to
there.
approve as amended.
All those in favor?
Motion to approve as amended.
Fair enough.
Yes.
All right,
Because it was amended.
as amended.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is Bill 20,
Do we have to do the floor amendment now? We approved it. We
Approved as amended, it's
first
fine.
As amended. So we don't have to do a floor. I'm just going to change it, so when we bring it to the second time, it won't be a floor amendment.
Wonderful.
okay. Everybody clear and swear on that? All right, very good. Next item is Bill 2688, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the expenditure of funds for promotional efforts to support Operation Freedom Exchange for the Lake of the Ozarks Jeep Invasion in an amount of $5,000. April White?
Yep. Mayor, members of the board, we received a request for event support from Operation Freedom Exchange for their event that's happening later this year. They did complete the application. They provided all things required in the application, which you can see in your packet. Two things, though. Todd Miller did suggest that we start doing contracts on these, so that's also included in your packet. And then Alderman Rucker did ask for a history of that line item, and so that was provided to you on the dais. And Alderman McKay, hopefully you got that email that I sent you. You can see where typically we budget $13,000 for this community event support line item. This year, it looks a little different because of that MML event that you all decided during budget time to support. $14,300 is what was budgeted for this line item outside of the MML event, and you've expended $7,900 so far this year, so you do have $6,400 left. If you approve this one as requested at $5,000, naturally that would leave you with $1,400 left. And that's all I have. If you have any questions, let me know.
Very good. Any questions or comments from board? Alderman Osteen.
Yes, I have made my support of this event very well known in the past 2 years for this board. I had the opportunity to witness firsthand the domino effect on the funds that were raised from this event and how those trickle down to our veterans and people in need. This past October, or actually take it back, November, I actually volunteered to help pass out Thanksgiving dinners to veterans in need as part of what basically they were doing with the proceeds from this event. Not only did we pass out dinners for veterans in need, but we also passed out dinners to service organizations for both the cities of Lake Ozark, Sunrise Beach, Camdenton, City of Osage Beach, etc. Those went to EMT services. Those meals went to fire protection districts. And we're not talking sliced turkey on a platter. These were 25-pound turkeys, boxes full of canned goods. These were pies. These were full Thanksgiving dinners that went not only, once again, to veterans in need, but to service industries throughout the lake area. So once again, I cannot express enough how much I support this event and how basically this is really doing good to our community. That's all.
Thank you. Alderman Rucker.
Yes, I have a problem with the budget. I believe there's some not correct information.
Are we talking about the budget that April provided or the budget for the
Yes,
event?
our budget.
Okay.
Okay. my first concern is we don't have enough money left over for the Bike Fest, but then I think we have some money that's been put in the wrong category. If I understand what you have here, we budgeted for this year, and pardon me for not knowing, because I just got this tonight, so I couldn't review it earlier. We have, within that category, what you're telling us is we have 47,000 budgeted total?
Yes.
Okay, and the subline of that is, for the community events, is 14,000?
Yes.
Okay, and we've spent 7,900?
Yes, which includes the 3,000 for the Bike Fest.
It what?
It does include the 3,000 for the Bike Fest.
Okay.
We did that a couple
All right,
weeks ago.
I'm sorry, I overlooked that. The 4,900, that was a community event that we approved?
Yes. The Toyota Fishing Series.
You did it
Major
last
League
year, they
Fishing.
had to do it, you approved it at the beginning for payment this year. They're doing it. They were originally going to get 5,000, but then they had to do, we cut it down. Eric Hundelt worked a deal to go down to the 4,900.
So we approved that last year?
Yes, for this year's
That's why I
payment.
don't know it, but that's why my brain's not comprehending it.
Yep.
My brain's, last year's closed out in my brain.
I can-
Okay, I don't remember if we did it, but if we did, we did, okay.
Kevin,
That's where I'm at.
For clarity, I believe that was a fishing tournament that we had approved, but then it was not going to happen, but then it came back.
Yeah, I just didn't,
Yeah.
I vaguely remember that, but anyway, because I was thinking that was this year, but it,
I thought it was
we
this
had
year
to
too.
approve that
Well,
last.
you may
okay.
approve it this year and it's next year's event. I'm trying to find the ordinance for you.
But we
It's
approved-
2552.
So we approved it last year's for the following year's budget.
2552.
That's correct.
Yeah,
Okay,
you approved it 2552 last year, yeah, for this year's event to pay out of this year.
Yeah, the event was early. It was like March.
okay. All right, that one just threw me for a
Thank you,
loop. When I
April.
seen that there, I didn't get a digest of it. I'm good, thanks. Understand.
Any other questions or comments about this? All right. Does anyone, I'm sorry, I don't recall your name, sir.
Joe Shabino.
Joe, yes,
Yes,
you've
sir.
been doing this for a couple, 3 years now.
This is the third year.
What can you tell us about what you expect this year?
It's hard to say. You know, we've been sharing social media. You know, I know we did one post, and for 30 days, it had almost 76,000 views. I know we are doing some social media views that are going probably, that just got released, and they're already hitting 1,000, 2,000 views on them. So, you know, to get an exact number, you can't do it. I mean, you know, a lot of people come just to the event, just to see what it's about, see what Lake of the Ozark and that kind of stuff's about. So it is, I think we'll hit over 10,000 this year, if not more. We are doing geofencing. We do about 15,000 geofencing on emails, and we do that twice through the event. And then between social media, TikTok and Facebook and all that stuff. And then me getting out, I actually get out and I go to all these other events and we print stuff and we pass it out and invite everybody to come.
Very good. Do you have any perspective on how much it's grown over the last year or so? Or would that 10,000 be a lot of growth?
Yeah, I mean, your first year, you probably had a good safe 1,000 number, you
Okay.
know, just because you're booking, you know.
Sure.
Second year, I think you're probably 5,000, 6,000, and like I said, you can't get an exact number on it. I mean, you can get an exact number on
get
it.
it.
You're guaranteed that you can register for the VIPs. That's all you can get out of it, you know. And then a lot of people do come and they want to do the show and shine, or they want to do the light shows and that kind of stuff. And it's just an amazing
Very good.
thing.
All right. Alderman Hoffman.
I just like to throw this out there. I'm a huge supporter of this. Obviously, it's military, everything. Is there any way of doing some kind of event down at the bring your Jeep and your dog to the dog park or something to utilize our city park?
We we have been trying to figure out ways to expand this, not just to Osage Beach, to get the whole lake involved in this. Our first year we did, I think it was the Branding Iron, Captain Ron's, there's a couple of places, just tried to get people around the lake to where they're getting around them. I know on Wednesday of this week, people are coming for the whole week. They're coming to span the whole week. So I know some of the other local Jeep groups and like Capital City Crawlers and CJC, they are actually coming down. They are actually taking people, like tours around the lake, come through, see Osage Beach, come see, all the way around the lake. They're not going out to a loop too. That takes too much time and access. So, I mean, you guys can tell me what you can, and what we need to do and that kind of stuff.
Well,
I spoke with him several times about the city park, but, when you take away from, I want to say this the wrong way, I don't want to kick myself in the butt here, but, if you take away people from the event and bring them to somewhere else, most likely they're not going to go back there. And then all the businesses throw their hands up in there and say, well, we could have had regular business down here if we didn't shut down the strip. So that's where we got into the problem with the loop too, the first year or two.
Well, I don't want to, take anything away from the Strip or Lake Ozark. They're good, they're good neighbors, and we get along with them over there. But we have a really nice city park. We're throwing 5,000 out. I wouldn't mind seeing the Jeeps roll through our area, or thinking outside the box if we could, if something we could do to help incentivize them spending a day over at the park. Just a thought, just something to throw out.
I have no problems at all with coming and sitting with the board and figuring out what we need to do. I mean, Susan and I will come down and we'll sit down with you guys and, and put into perspective what we need to do. This is Hoss. A lot of you all have seen Hoss. That's my service dog. That may be something that we need to do to open it up to the dogs, for.
I've just noticed a lot of people that own Jeeps own dogs.
Yes.
So.
I need to get away from, the people or whatever, Hoss will tell you, I need to get away. So he drags me and yanks me to my Jeep and we go. So, if that's something, we can do with the veterans or something like that, maybe that's something we can do to spread that with the service dogs and that kind of stuff.
Other comments or questions? All right. Just looking for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Alderman George, is that right?
That was George. I was going to second.
All right, Alderman Osteen for a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item is Resolution 2026-18, a resolution of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, stating facts and reasons for approving a budget amendment for fiscal year 2026 to increase appropriations for transportation equipment repair line item. Jeff Fisher, Public Works Director.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything to add, just to make sure that you received the email I sent out yesterday with the report from INCO, just to give you a glimpse into what kinds of expenses come out of that line item, and then I'll be happy to answer questions.
This is actually within the budget of the transportation, right?
There's equipment that's shared between the three, and so you'll see a third or different proportions coming out of that for transportation.
But you mean the money transfer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
From one line item to another, from
Right.
chemicals?
So it's not changing the bottom line.
No.
It's
on that-
O&M to
on that
O&M.
account, On
Yeah.
the overall account, right.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I was just a little confused, and I think Kevin helped clarify it on, it's still the same budget in dollars? I was just a little confused on the transferring from this to that, et cetera. But
Just
it's
for
all-
clarity,
it's all still budgeted, so.
Right, the overall transportation budget expenditures has not changed, the overall number, is that
The
correct?
approved budget bottom line has not changed.
Very good,
That's
thank
right.
you. Alderman Hoffman.
This is a little outside the box, but in strategic planning, I believe we kind of talked about trying to simplify this process to where it didn't have to come to the board. Is this an example of that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other, Alderman George?
Jeff, I appreciate you sending an email yesterday to all of us explaining kind of where the expenditures are spent and whatnot. One of the things when I first came on and questions, was discussing about having an onboard mechanic or something along those lines. And when I broke through that, it for what we're spending and what we're there, it clarified that it doesn't make sense for us to have that because of the cost of what it would cost for somebody's salary to have that position, and then the plethora of knowledge he would have to have because of how many unique repairs and what you have there. I commend you by one, finding local locations that were servicing our vehicles and
Right.
And clarifying that for me. And so I want to thank you for that and kind of let everybody know that, we hear it out there. Well, why don't we have our own mechanic changing our oil changes and doing those as well? What you showed was a perfect example of why we don't, and how the city can save money by utilizing our local establishments and whatnot. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Alderman Hoffman.
Just to tack on to that, we did explore that a couple of years ago, and then we ran into the problem of we don't really have a bay for the vehicles to go in either. So it kind of hit it, but I appreciate, actually, we never actually got to the point of seeing if it was financially wise or not, but good to have that info. Thanks.
Welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, just looking for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Alderman Rucker, do I hear a second?
Second.
Alderman George. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is Resolution 2026-19, a resolution of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, approving the amendment to the city's Safe Streets and Roads for All, better known as SS4A grant project, ratifying continued participation in the federal grant program, authorizing execution of all necessary documents, authorizing the required local match, and authorizing all actions necessary to implement the project. Jeff Fisher, Public Works Director.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I bring Ashley Winchell up from Wilson, she's going to highlight these changes. I'll say that, and I think I've shared this with a couple of you in the past. When this grant first came out, I was elsewhere, and I wasn't quite sure what the value of this sort of grant was going to be. I was skeptical. And it was nice to see the City of Osage Beach get $1 million. I mean, that was surprising when I got here. Ashley has done, and her team has done an excellent job of helping us sort of maximize the value from this. And the way I see it, sort of the direction this is going is it really does help the City of Osage Beach create a foundation, a better foundation for future grants. The crash analysis and being targeted in the things that we need to mitigate crashes and to sort of improve the community through roads and trails and sidewalks and ADA and greenways and those sorts of things. I know we got the Magic Dragon Trail group that will be coming and engaging and looking to partner on things, and this sort of thing helps us with the foundation for that. So I'll hand it over to Ashley, and then we'll field questions you may have.
This one? Okay. Ashley Winchell with Wilson and Company. Some of you have seen me up here before, but just here today to talk about the grant amendment. So last year we talked to you all about the proposed demonstration project and some of the issues that arose when we started designing bike lanes there. And so once we got into the plan and really started thinking about how the money could best be used to set a foundation for the city moving forward, a few things came up with the Safety Action Committee and the public engagement really around walking and biking in Osage Beach, specifically getting over the Grand Glaze Bridge, and then also getting over a number of the bridges over highway and whatnot for pedestrians. And so when we started talking with Jeff and Colton more about how we could use this money for supplemental planning, one of the things that came up is starting to explore ways that the existing Grand Glaze Bridge could be used to support pedestrians and bikes moving over it, and using the funding to set the foundation for planning so that the city could go after funds for preliminary and final engineering in the future through either a build grant or an SS4A grant. And so a lot of the funding would be used to look at traffic counts, to analyze if there were changes made to lane configurations on the bridge, how would that impact traffic? Is this possible? And then what does funding, how much would that cost? Also starting to have some of the conversations with the community about it. And then finally with MoDOT. We did talk to MoDOT a little bit about whether this is something they would support, and they were intrigued, but wanted to see more study and more conversations before they jump on board. And so it would give the city the opportunity to have that study in place. One of the things that most grants require is there to be a plan in place for how you're going to build this infrastructure, and that those studies be done. And if those studies aren't done, then they usually require you to apply for a grant to do that work. And so this would take out that step. The city would have that in place. Additionally, we wanted to look at other locations for connectivity along Osage Beach Parkway. I'm sure, as you all know, some parts have sidewalks, some parts don't have sidewalks, or they just have a paved shoulder of asphalt. And so we also have been talking with Jeff and Colton about ways that we could kind of create bite-sized projects with existing city funds and county funds to maybe look at sidewalk improvements or additions in certain areas. And so what the end product would really look like is a plan for all of these different facilities and cost estimates, so that when funding opportunities arise, the city has the plan in place to seek those funds. One of the other items I think that's important on that is just stakeholder engagement, so that we can continue conversations. There may be specific property owners that have concerns. This would give us the ability to talk with them. We'd want to do not only just larger engagement with the community, but if we're talking about adding sidewalks in certain areas, it gives us the opportunity to maybe talk with business owners to find out where there could be pros and cons to some things, or thinking through that moving forward. So that was what we've proposed in the memo, and then that's also what's supported in the grant amendment. FHWA's reviewed the grant amendment and signed everything on that, so it's really just talking to you all about how we move forward with those funds.
Very good, thank you.
I'll just say one more thing, and she spoke to this a little bit, and most of you, or all of you, probably know this. Most of the grant opportunities are highly competitive, and so like she spoke of Grand Glaze, walkability, that's probably going to be a good build grant fit, and that's a big grant program. Locals like us are eligible for 100% match, but the more work you do on the front end, the more competitive you're going to be. The chances are better that you're going to be successful. So we always want to be more ready than anybody else. That helps.
Very good. Questions, Alderman Osteen?
So just to clarify, we have been awarded this grant, correct? But according to the performance agreement or the execution agreement, we have until May of 2028 to basically really figure out where this money is going to go. So that gives us multiple years to designate where that grant funding is going. Is that correct? Or is it something that we have to do a designated plan now and execute by May of 2028?
The planning effort needs to be done by 2028. So I think that's the date in which the funds need to be expended by the city. And then I believe without looking at it, the plan would need to be adopted by the Board of Aldermen.
I'm just looking at the time frame to put pen to paper to say, here's where we're going to utilize this money. And I kept going back to that May 2028 date of, okay, is that when it has to be executed, or basically just the plan submitted by that date?
I think it's plan submitted.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, that's all.
Okay. Alderman Rucker.
Bob, maybe I'm not on the right page, or maybe you forgot. I think this committee has been meeting for over a year. This is the group that has met, hasn't it been a year?
Over a year, I believe, yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that, this is not just starting now. There's been a lot of stuff that has been done for last year, I think.
But the safety action
I was just
committee
looking to see when things need to be finalized
Right.
on where we're actually utilizing that. And how
I just
much
didn't
time
look-
we have to basically say, here's where that money's going.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure you didn't,
Yes,
it's not
yes,
starting
yeah.
now, it's already been started.
Yes.
It's been work. And
I just want to know our end
yeah.
date to say, here's where it's going.
You also made mention of some funding coming from the county. I think you're probably maybe misunderstanding that. I don't think we'll get any funds from this county on roads, but where there's some funding available and some help for the sidewalks is the Osage Beach Special Road District.
Yes, sorry, thank you.
Because I don't want people out there in the county who
Yeah.
are having
Okay.
complaints about their roads and bridges saying, oh, they're giving money to Osage Beach, and no, we're not asking the
Okay.
county for any.
Yes,
So
thank you for that correction.
just want to make sure that's clarity. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm just excited that we are moving forward with sidewalks, because every conversation you have out there is, why do we not have sidewalks? And why do we not have those? So I'm very pleased that we're moving forward with that.
Very good. Any other questions or thoughts? I'm just looking for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Alderman George, do I hear a second?
Second.
Alderman Rucker, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Next item, motion to appoint members to the Building Code Board of Appeals by Mayor Ross. I'll take this one. This is one, Board of Appeals, I don't know that it's ever met, but it is a board that we still keep on for concerns from contractors potentially with our building code interpretations and so forth. It hadn't been kept up. This is kind of a cleanup process, one that I had hoped to get to back in June, but it just didn't happen. And so I am recommending that we appoint Matt Stevens and part of the reason for these appointments is that there's some folks that have moved on that aren't available to us at this point. We tried to reach out to them back in May and June and either couldn't reach out to them or they didn't really fit or have interest any longer. So Matt Stevens is to replace Jason Mueller, Kurt Flickinger to replace Terry Ross, and those two were alternates, as I recall. Is that right, Ron? You're right. They were alternates on the board if needed. And then Preston Moyer, who is a longtime contractor around the area, to replace Anthony Westhusing II. We don't at this point have alternates set up, but that's something that we're going to be working through. Ron's working through. But just want to get this in place and make sure we've got this board at least active, and if they were needed, that we have people that we can call upon. So with that said, is there any questions or concerns around this? Seeing none, I just need a motion.
Motion to approve the recommendation of the mayor.
Alderman Rucker, do I hear a second?
Second.
Alderman Hoffman, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, I almost went too quick. Gotcha, Bill. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I have a request, though, going back to this.
Sure.
We have in previous years received lists of all the boards and committee members and their term dates. Can I request that the board get sent one of those that is updated?
Yes, I will have one out. I was waiting for this one to do it. I
Okay.
didn't have to send it out, but yes, I will get it done. Because
Okay.
all the boards are now updated.
Okay.
Other than these two alternates that aren't there, and we've never met, so we've never needed an alternate.
Yeah. But
So-
this was more general
Right.
on, usually we
Right.
get a yearly, here
Well,
are the
we're getting close to
positions,
getting
the
it cleaned
terms,
up.
So, okay.
I'll get it done for you.
That'd be great. Thank you, Tara. All right. Next item is motion to approve the purchase of Christmas light displays in an amount of $49,972. Eric Gregory, Parks and Recreation Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. At the mayor's direction, in an effort to service the community, we are trying to move up, bringing back holiday lights to City Park. So in order to do that, we had to use the full $50,000 that was allotted for not only holiday lights at the park, but Rob needed some snowflakes for the street poles, and Rob graciously agreed to let us use the whole $50,000 for holiday lights. So Colton, back in June, did a very good job sending out an RFP, and of the responses, we received 5 bidders. Between the two of them were acceptable. Between the 2 acceptable bids, and I'm just going to read off his email. He did a great job on this too. They met the criteria, holiday design. The planning committee felt the latter possessed the best material. He emphasizes we do not have time to spare in getting these lights approved and ordered. Lead times can take up to 8 to 12 weeks. These are not items on the shelf and all must be made. We will be asking for a first and second reading on these lights. I know that's not the board's preference. However, we really need to get these ordered as soon as possible so that they arrive well before December and we can get them put up in a timely manner. We do recommend approval and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Don't need a first
We don't need a
and
second reading.
Okay, I apologize.
No worries. Even easier.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. And I guess I'll just say this was something that was brought up during the campaign to me. A lot of folks was wanting to see lights in the park. I know there was a plan to try to take it back next year. I appreciate Eric and staff working together to try to figure out how to make this happen this year. And it looks like we're going to have Christmas lights in the park this holiday season. So looking forward to it if you guys agree. Are there any questions or concerns about this? Alderman Osteen.
Just a comment, which is kind of humorous. You made my brain rack through the 12 days of Christmas and what these represented, and I couldn't figure out why there was an Eiffel Tower in the 30th day of Christmas. I kept having to look at these going, what does this symbolize? That's the one I got hung up on. Just a humorous backstory.
Yeah, there you go. I don't have an answer necessarily for that, but we felt the 12 days of Christmas gave us the most bang for the buck.
Oh, yeah,
among the
I like
others, so-
them. I was just
Yeah.
made me rack my brain on trying to figure out all the 12 days of Christmas and what they represented. That's all. Just
Alderman Rucker.
Comment.
Help me out here because I'm putting my brain on rewind. And I thought last year the board voted to not put the lights in the park because we had such difficulty with a lot of lights we had that were in disrepair and to move them up to the strip and not do it in the park. And also that we didn't have the electric that we needed to have to adequately be safe with providing electricity down in the park, that was going to cost us a lot of money, and that's why we chose to put it on the strip or on the road rather than not in the park. Am I all wet?
Not at all, that's correct. Just for backstory, the board did approve electrical upgrades in City Park, which has been awarded. It's going to move forward, I think, later on this month, as long as we get the permits approved, which I'm hoping the building department will help us out with that. And Osage Beach Fire District. So the electrical upgrades are moving forward. That'll be done within the next month or two. And then Mayor Ross emphasized really trying to bring it back to City Park this year. So we're going to do that and supplement it with Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus. So
Well, I knew we hadn't done electrical down there. I couldn't remember if we approved it or not, and anyway, so you've cleared it up for me. I'm good.
Good to go.
My
Yep.
brain's still working.
Anything else? Alderman George.
I can tell you that my kids were very sad when this disappeared. So hearing it coming back is phenomenal. And also looking at the bid, I'm very pleased to see that these are LED lights that are going to last longer. Looks like they're going to be a lot more stronger and be able to live the test of time. So I'd love to see this develop and kind of get bigger, maybe some donation ones or something, kind of like what you've seen other parks do. I'm really excited that we're bringing it back because, when we didn't have it, our social media was blown up about how spirited we were. So I'm very happy. Thank you for going through the effort to get us something back.
Yeah, actually, Caitlin Schultz, our recreation specialist, is going to take the lead on the holiday lights this year. She had several years of experience at Lori, which we hear about Lori holiday lights quite a bit. So we're also possibly going to reach out to local businesses to supplement our own light displays to see if they might want to do their own as well. So I think it's going to be a good event. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
All right, Alderman Hoffman.
Yeah, just for the record to the community and for any of the radios and TV stations that want to talk about Christmas lights, we only set it aside for a year because the lights were completely junk. I mean, they had gotten to a point of they weren't salvageable, and if we're going to update the lights, we needed to get the budget in place, and in order to do that safely, we needed to upgrade the park with electricity. So the plan was never to get rid of Christmas forever. It was to put it on hold until we could fix it and fix it properly. That being said, are we still doing Mr. and Mrs. Claus up here in the parking lot of City Hall?
We're hoping to combine the events and bring them down to the park.
Awesome.
So
Oh, we're
that
gonna-
yeah, not every night, obviously, but certain nights. And so,
Right.
have a hot drive-through light display and then also have Santa and Mrs. Claus. And to add to your point, yes, that is correct. The lights, many of them we had in our inventory were old and the wiring cracked, and then the wiring electrical that we had for the park was not suitable. So basically, every time it rained, most of the lights didn't work, and there was absolutely nothing we could do about it. We did not like canceling it, disappointing people, but that's why. So we're moving forward to fix those problems and have a great light display this December.
Yeah, and before I voted to do that last year, I got a chance to go down with Eric to the park and look at the lights, and they were falling apart. It was sad that we had to do it, but I still think we did the right thing, and I'm looking forward to moving forward.
And I'll just say one other thing. I think Eric and Caitlin, we've talked about this. I didn't know Caitlin was taking charge on all of this, but I'm sure Caitlin will do a great job. She always does. But I think there's a lot of opportunity to make this more than just Christmas lights in the park, along with Santa. We've got the Bark Park down there. There may be some tie-ins we can do there. And we haven't thought of them all yet. Don't have all the answers, but you plant a seed and see it grow, and maybe this can be a lot more than Christmas lights in the park before it's all done in the next few years. Any other questions or comments? Just looking for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Alderman Hoffman,
Second.
Alderman George. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. The next item on the agenda is a discussion around the redevelopment agreement for the Osage Beach Investment Group, better known as the Outlet Mall. And before we get started on that, I want to say special thanks to Alderman Collins. She has taken a lot of this work and done a lot more work than I could ever do on this, trying to keep the traffic going on this, for lack of a better term, back and forth. And her efforts are more than commendable, and I cannot thank her enough. And we're going to get this deal done, but there's going to be a lot of pieces and a lot of people to thank. But we can't underestimate the amount of time, effort, and leadership that she has provided on this, and we're getting awful close. And so this is a conversation around how do we bring it home. We have the document that you all received in the packet is the latest document from the developer. That document had some concerns from some of us on the team, including Mark Spikerman and Jeff White, in the effort to try to move this along without waiting for schedules and people be able to come here and so forth. We decided to bring it to the board and get some conceptual thoughts and alignment around some of the things that are still out there. And you all received an email today, this morning, around the 5 items. And Alderman Collins, if I've missed anything, please make sure that they get brought up. But you've got 5 items in front of you that we need to discuss. What I would recommend, and I'm open to suggestions, is that we talk about these one item at a time, and then move on from one to the next. Does that make
Agreed.
sense? Okay. All right. And with that said, the first item, and I'll try to set the table, if you will, is that the city's hotel tax rebate that's in this agreement. The developer would like to see a 100% rebate of 1% general fund sales tax for 30 years. The Oasis project, which there have been, during these negotiations, there have been comments, as long as it's the same as the Oasis, that there would be agreements to do so. The Oasis project, just for clarity, received a 50% rebate for 23 years. The Outlet Mall Development Plan agreed to, this is the development plan that was first approved by the TIF Commission, agreed to verbiage that said up to 100% but was not specific in the language. This is around the specificity of the language. The financial numbers in the development plan portrayed a 100% tax rebate. Again, that was the plan. Now we're at the agreement level. We're down to the details, okay? And so with that said, I will open it up to anyone who would like to ask questions or make comments, and especially Alderman Collins, you can go first with all the work you've done.
Real quick, Mayor, a clarity if I may.
Yes.
You said we're going to talk about them one step at a time.
One item.
One item at a time.
Right.
Okay. Once we get through with this, we're not going to approve that.
No.
We're going to go through all of them,
Right.
and then
The way I see this is we're
Okay,
going
there may
to,
be
and if we
some
have to
trade-offs.
vote, so be it on each item, but the way I see this is we're going to gain enough clarity and direction that we can take the next step to put the final document, hopefully everybody can approve or at least consider
Thank you.
at the next time we decide when that will be.
Thank you, I just wanted to get that clear.
All right? Alderman Collins, please go ahead.
So I absolutely agree with that. A point of clarification on the city hotel tax rebate. So just to kind of give everybody a little bit of backstory, there's been some confusion, and I didn't catch it in this email until you just read it, but it continues. So we've had this problem for several months that it is either 100% of 1% or 50% of 2%. Those equal the same thing, which is kind of how we got here. So if you read on here, it says the developer wants 100% on our 1%, which is what they've always asked for. That's not different. The Oasis project, I believe, received 50% of 2%. But it's that difference that has caused us a whole lot of consternation over the last 6 months. And Chris, if you've got clarification on that, then you could absolutely come up and clarify. But this has been a sticking point over and over and over again if it's 100% of one, because I think it's 100% of two, and they get 50% of two.
For clarity, 1%.
Okay,
Does that help?
that helps.
Thank you.
And I believe the Oasis gets 50% of 2%.
Can we verify that?
I am, as we go through this conversation, I'll do my best to look up that agreement and see if I can find it. That was a specific question I had from Mark Spikerman, who wasn't able to attend tonight. I would have loved it if he could, but we're trying to move forward as fast as we can, or as reasonably fast as we can. And I asked him that specific question, and his understanding was it was 50% of 1% for 23 years. But he was doing that off the top of his head, so maybe he didn't remember it well. Okay? Alderman George.
I know that we've had some meetings on this, and this was a question that was brought up a couple months ago, so I'm just concerned that we're talking about it still. This was something that was discussed when we were in conversation, and the way that I understood it when we were there was that we had come to the understanding that it was, that Oasis was 0.5% of 2%, and that they were requesting the 1%, which was theoretically the same thing. I believe that we already had figured that out and came to agreement, if I do recall.
I think the agreement was that it was, if I can understand, I think the agreement was that it should be the same as the Oasis, is what I thought we agreed to. If we, and that's where we have these conversations for clarity, okay?
Right.
If we want to, give me just a minute. Carrie, do you know?
I'm just saying, half or 1% of two would be consistent with all of our other redevelopment agreements.
Thank you for that.
So if they got 1%, that's consistent?
If it's 1% of the two, if it's half, that is consistent with all of our other agreements.
Thank you. That's what I thought we were understanding when you brought it up, make it the same as Oasis, that we did understand that that was the same as Oasis.
They're just using two different formulas.
They were just, exactly.
They're using two different formulas, but they're coming, well,
Absolutely.
The end result's the same.
End
my
result
problem
was the
is
same.
the last time we talked about this, I didn't think, in my brain, it wasn't clarified. And if they're using two different formulas to come to the same end results, I don't care what formula they use.
That's what I thought we all came up to agreement with, was that.
If it's all of, for the city side, it would be different, because it would be all of general funds going and nothing coming out of transportation or CIT. But for the developer, half is half.
Okay. Alderman Collins.
I am reading in the document, and it is 50% of 1% on the Lakeport project.
50%.
Of 1%. So they get 0.5%. This project is asking for 1%.
So they are asking for twice as much.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Thank you for that.
Okay. And so with that, I think that's the root of the question. Does this development, should they get Should we be consistent with Lakeport, or should we do something different? I'll just say it that way. I think that's the question on the table.
They want 1%.
Any comments or
Oasis
thoughts?
gets half
Alderman
percent.
Rucker, go ahead.
I think that from the very beginning, the benchmark that was set was to say, here's the Oasis agreement. This will help you, give you guidelines of what we have. We actually have some other documents that have been in the revised status, so we felt that that was the document that, you know, would give them the best clarity of where we're at. So it sounds like that even though there's different formulas, it's a total, and maybe that should be the word we should be using, it's a total of 0.5% of the sales. That's...
I don't disagree with you. Like I said, this has been a huge,
And I think-
over and over and over again, where, just to let you know where I fall, because it's been such a confusing thing, and quite frankly, I think we gave them incorrect information way back when in January or February. So they based all of their numbers on this 1% number. That's what they based all their financials on. That's what I thought we had agreed to previously. I would hate to see that change at this point in time, but I mean, that's why we're here. So it's really up to the rest of the board where you think it should go.
Alderman Rucker.
Well, number one, I was understanding that our previous city administrator had made it pretty clear what it was. That was my first understanding. The second is we gave the documentation to them to assist them as it was not a very good application process that could have spelled that out, and we would have not be here at the end of the rainbow trying to figure out what's going on here. We would have had that up front and be able to figure out what formula, what's what. I think the consistency, I don't care if it's the Oasis or who it is, is the consistency that we have followed when we've dealt with the hotels, when there was going to be hotels, was 0.5% of sales tax. I don't want to use the formulas. I want to use the real numbers. We want to argue or debate or whatever that, but it's 0.5% of the sales tax is what we're talking about. They're asking for 1%. 0.5% has been what we've done, and that's what I would like to support. And definitely for the 23 years, not the 30. That again is what we've done. I'd be willing to push a little bit on the years, but not the 0.5%. That's my position. Thank you.
Okay. And by the way, Alderman McKay, you've been awful quiet other than voting. So this is something, if you want to, I'm not asking you to speak, but please don't be afraid to say, Mr. Mayor, because I may not catch you up there, okay? Other comments?
I understand, thank you.
Alderman Hoffman.
I don't have a problem with the 30 years, and if we've gotten to the bottom of this, of you know, 50% is what Oasis got, the wording's going to be the same. I'll just tell you, I want to see this project happen. So I wouldn't be opposed to finding a number between 50 and 100% to help incentivize getting this done, because to me, this is the most important TIF project that has ever come through Osage Beach. The public support for this is high, and we've all worked really hard on it. And I'm of the belief that there should be structure to every TIF, that we should have some basic policy, but at some point, it turns into evaluating each TIF independently. And I believe that the importance and the value of this particular TIF warrants consideration for finding a better number.
Alderman Osteen.
I'm going to support what Alderman Hoffman stated 100%. I have always stated that every project should stand on its own merits, and the fact that we try to pigeonhole an outlet mall development based on what we've done previously on the Oasis development, I've always been confused and have been very adamant that, yes, there is a precedent, and that should be our benchmark. But once again, two different types of entities and developments, that there should be some leeway, that we're not trying to hold their feet to the fire on this development because of what we've done in the past. So I agree with Mr. Hoffman that yes, there should be some middle ground where there's some deviation, where we're not holding their feet to the fire to deal with an amusement park versus a retail shop development. That's all.
Alderman Rucker.
I would agree with you, Bob. The problem is, the city has not been the one that has said, follow the Oasis, follow the Oasis. The developer has continued to say, we want to be able to do what the Oasis did. What did the Oasis do? So they've been the one that want to do it. We have not said, here's the Oasis, follow it. We've given them that plan to assist them, okay? We have a set of guidelines that we use to do it. So I agree, every plan it needs to be looked at on its own merit. And I don't think we need to do it just because we did or didn't do it with the other one.
Yeah.
But we have been, that has been thrown at us.
So there's a discussion, so there should be further discussion on a middle ground that, okay, perhaps we discuss further the percentages and the terms on the years. It shouldn't be an either or at 50 or 100. There should be, like Alderman Hoffman said, a middle ground.
And I'll just say that that's one reason we're having this discussion is because we're trying to figure out what is the board's preference, for lack of a better term. And if it comes down to it, there's enough differing views, then maybe we have to go through a motion process. But with that said, Alderman George, go ahead, your hand is raised.
I mean, we're kind of privileged here to have the developer here. Couldn't we call him up to maybe clarify what his thoughts were?
Why? Sure, Chris, you're welcome to come up. Please let us know why you feel like you need a different rebate than the Oasis, I guess. Maybe that's what the question on the table is.
In point of order, could we have you just address this one particular topic?
Yes, please.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Please, thank you.
Yeah, no, regarding the hotel, 1%, it was our understanding that it was 1% that was given to Lake Oasis. I'm not sure what was given to them, if there's misunderstanding there, but we were working from 1% from the very beginning, just as a total tax. For clarity, there are two 1% hotel taxes. That's why it says 100% of this specific tax, so you're not taking from two taxes. It was trying to streamline the process and make things easier. Further, the TIF plan that was approved has 1% of the hotel money in that TIF plan. It is approved. To be consistent with the approved TIF plan, 1% of the hotel tax is what's been approved by the TIF, by the TIF board and by this Board of Aldermen. And that's it. That's in the CBA.
Up to 1%.
It's 1% is what is in this cost benefit analysis.
Hang on,
Yes.
two separate places. In one place in the TIF plan, it says up to 100%. In their financial calculations,
Yes.
the numbers they use in the financial calculations are the 100% of that 1%.
Their financial computation. But
Yeah, the
plan
ones that
we-
they put together.
But the plan that we approve says up to.
The plan that we
both.
approved, the calculations use the full 1%. What Jeff White reviewed used the 1%. It used the whole thing. It used 100% of 1%.
And that is
Calculations.
And
The
that is
calculations
But the
that we
plan that
approved.
we approved in the TIF says up to.
Right.
So there are two different places of what I'm getting at, but what was approved was the
Both of those
verbiage
were
up to.
approved.
The other
It-
one wasn't approved. I mean,
It
just-
is. It's
it was
part of the
just
TIF plan.
Supporting evidence.
No, that's part of the TIF plan.
I mean, I think you could look at it two different ways, if you don't mind, Chris. There was verbiage in there that said it could be approved up to 100%, and then they decided, when they put the pro forma together, for lack of a better term, that they assumed 100%. Is that a fair assessment?
I don't think so. When they put it together assuming 100%, because that's what we had talked about prior to that point. It is
Okay,
what we
I don't know
talked
about
about.
those
It was-
conversations, by the way.
We've always worked from the 100% of one, it's 1%. That's what we've always used. And it's reflected in the cost benefit analysis at that exact number. So if it says up to 1%, I think that's commonplace to put up to in a lot of different categories as a placeholder number. Because what if you come down off that, I'm not sure exactly, but there's a lot of discussion about everything is an up to number potentially.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole
Yeah,
TIF
but-
plan is
but
up to
yeah,
$149 million.
Right. Yeah, our financials reflect 1% of the hotel tax going to this project. Our focus is to redevelop a severely blighted mall that needs to be redeveloped, and we
getting off
are
base.
focused on doing that. And what we've done is presented this information to this board, to many different community outlets, and our focus is getting the project delivered.
So,
Alderman Osteen.
so to circle back, basically, the 1% was what was approved by the TIF committee and the approval of the TIF, correct?
TIF
That's what's
Commission.
in the
That's what's
projections.
in what was
Yes.
approved.
The
And now
projections
we're-
include the
But now
1%.
we're debating that on the RDA.
Yes.
Correct.
For clarity, everything that was approved in that TIF plan is not, everything that was approved in there doesn't go into this agreement. We haven't changed some of those things.
It's not
So-
binding.
That's right, so it's not binding.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, let's make that
Yes.
clear, that, just because that was there, and it sounded like to me there was one place that I read different than what was said in another place, but that's not binding, so we do have,
Yes.
okay, I
We've
just
got
want to make
leeway.
sure we're all on that page.
But I'm just trying to point out,
Just
though,
because the commission had approved it and then passed it on to us, that was first step one. Now we're into the final agreement.
I'm just trying to point out that initial approvals were based on this number that they were given, and which we signed off on, but now we're debating that number, which obviously there's room for debate.
Okay.
But in their defense, they're stating, hey, we did our projections based on what we were told and was approved on from this point forward.
Alderman McKay, do you have anything? Just want to make sure that,
Yeah, as I'm listening here, I'm kind of in agreement with Justin, Bob, and I think Stephen, that it was the 1% at the beginning, and that's what they based all their numbers on. Looks like that's where we just need to go and step forward.
so I heard a little bit of that there. Alderman Hoffman, go ahead.
I'll just reiterate, I'm pretty comfortable at 75%. I don't think we can go to 100% personally, because we're not recouping any money back for the public to put back into our coffers. But I'm willing to give a few more of the cookies away out of the cookie jar than we have in the past. I just don't think we can go to 100%.
I have one real quick question on kind of a separate topic, but the 30 years is always a little bit confusing to me to start with. Would that mean that we're doing some administration for longer, I would assume, than we have in other, I mean, is there going to be more administration for 7 more years on this project than for any other part of the project?
I think the TIF is limited to 23 years.
Right.
So I don't know if they're talking about the CID and the TDD, those have a different life, but the TIF is limited to collect for 23 years.
Right, but the rebate would be a separate,
Is that-
basically administrative function, I believe. Am I wrong, Rebecca?
My understanding is that the Hotel City is a separate rebate from the TIF. It's not included in the TIF funds. To answer your question, yes, it would need to be administered for 30 years if that's the agreement. It would not end at 23 or sooner.
Correct. Sorry. Because the hotel's fallen under the entertainment district, correct? Which has different governing laws than the TIF in and of itself, as far as years.
We haven't passed anything.
TIDs aren't all capped at 23.
Oh, yeah.
But this is separate from all of those
I know what I'm
districts.
saying,
This
but
isn't really a
The hotel tax,
district.
though, falls into, well.
Basically, we would be giving an abate.
Legalities
Hang
of
on.
a different district on the taxing?
What's the question, Alderman Osteen?
Sorry.
No,
I'm
go
just
ahead.
thinking out loud here.
All right, so do you still have a question?
Well, just clarifying that the hotel tax rebate is separate on the taxing of the general TIF.
So,
Correct?
yes.
So the 30 years can be negotiated.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's allowable.
It's allowable.
It falls outside of the TIF because it is only Osage Beach. So this doesn't have any impact. This is our sales tax. It doesn't impact any other entity. It's not, it doesn't fall under TIF guidelines. It's a completely separate thing that we can do in the city.
Okay, which is why 30 years is on the table, because that is allowable.
Yes.
Okay. Alderman Rucker, I think you had your hand up before Alderman Hoffman. Did you have a question still?
Well, so basically, the sales tax thing is going to be a tax abatement. I'm
Yes.
sure that Mark has
Of
got.
1%.
I'm sure Alderman Spikerman has the ways to create the documents that we will be able to do this is something, you know.
And it isn't uncommon. I found lots of them when I was researching, when I was educating myself on the ways of TIFs and these projects. I found a lot of them. It's not unusual.
A lot of them went to 30 years.
I don't know. I can't speak to it. It's been a while since I read them and I wasn't looking for it, so I can't answer it.
Alderman Hoffman.
So I'm just curious, where did you get the 30 years? Because it's the TIF, at least at its fundamental base, is a 23-year TIF. So not that I'm opposed to it, I'm just wondering, like, why not 28? Where did 30 come from?
30 years is a typical amortization that you see in bank debt.
Yes.
As far as the life of a district, you know, we've actually done, you know, our development team has done CIDs and TDDs that have 40-year lives on them, and then also there's perpetual lives on them. So I believe, you know, we worked through this process a long time ago. It's been effectively 1% hotel tax, 100% for 30 years, has been part of this plan from the very beginning. And if you're asking about where did you come up with 23 versus 30, this was an initial conversation that has never been questioned.
Well, we want to make sure that we can justify when one project is 23 years and the next one is 30, and that's enough explanation for me to just say that this is the financial plan that is in place, and that makes sense to me. I don't think I'm going to change my position. I'm good at 30 years and 75%.
Alderman Osteen.
Just to clarify, 23 versus 30. 23 is the benchmark number we keep using on the TIFs. I understand their thought process, though, is 30 years the benchmark for all conventional financial loans. Residential, commercial, they're always based on a 30-year amortization. So I think in the accounting side of it all, and the financial side of it all, it makes sense to do a 30-year amortization when we're talking dollars. And I think that's where that number is coming from. We keep going back to 23, but that's a different type of amortization number than what most loans and interests and projected payments, et cetera, are based on. That's all.
Alderman Rucker.
I believe, Chris, that CID and the acronyms.
TDD.
Yeah, those are 30.
No, what I'm saying is that
No, I'm saying the plan you have, that you presented from the very beginning, those were 30 years.
Yes.
I believe.
Because they were, because when I seen this at 30, and I was concerned with that and have always been concerned with anything more than 0.5% of the sales tax.
Okay.
That's my
So,
position.
is there a proposal on, there's mixed reviews here. I'm not sure that there's obvious agreement. Am I missing something?
I threw out where I'm at.
So is that a motion?
I think before we,
Or,
do we?
well, not a motion, but is there?
As a discussion item, there is really no takeaway other than just throwing out thoughts and processes we follow up on.
We can vote.
We can vote.
I believe we can take
No,
a vote.
you cannot vote on a discussion. No, Kevin, you can't vote on a discussion item. No, you can, after discussion, come back to make a motion.
Right, can we make a motion to make a recommendation on how to
Yes.
revise the RDA?
Yes, we can do that.
I think so.
We just
Okay.
need to word it the way that she is comfortable with.
Do we want to go
Okay.
on to the other ones just to see
I
if
think-
there's some trade-offs?
I think, well, we can, and then go back and vote on all of them?
The discussion has to be officially closed before motions can be made.
Yeah,
Who said that?
Correct? I'm
I
just thinking
think-
legalities. I keep getting hung up on
I
that.
think we're gonna talk in circles until midnight if we come back to it later. So
I agree.
maybe we
Make a decision,
complete
move on.
one, make a decision, move on to number two, because if we go back to number one, it's just gonna start up a
Why
discussion
don't we
all
have a
over again.
consent, a feeling of what we want to do, and then complete them all, and then make it all?
All right, okay, so let's start with, I will make a motion.
No. Legally, we can't.
How
A
do I
discussion has
authorize
to
it?
be closed on the agenda before motions can
Todd,
be
how
made.
can we gain alignment
What?
here if we've got a mixed group? Is there some vehicle we can utilize to, lack of a better term, take his proposal and vote it up or down for language in the next agreement?
I don't know that you want to do it in open session tonight. My understanding was on the agenda for discussion only tonight.
It is discussion.
I understand that. How did the definition of the city hotel sales tax rebate, how did that come to be in this agreement? Because it specifically reads that it is 1% general sales tax produced by hotel room sales within the redevelopment area 30 years after passage of the TIF and the TIF. Is that what you're relying upon? Is that's what you based your numbers on, is the definition of that tax?
Yeah, we were relying upon what we've been using from the very beginning. And the very beginning was effectively 1%, there's a 2% total tax collected on hotels in Osage Beach. And there's 2% sales tax collected on retail sales in Osage Beach. 50% of the retail tax is what's split with the TIF for the eats. And by measure, the same 50% would be 1% of the sales of the hotel tax. So having two 1% taxes, this goes back to prior people that were working with the city. 1% is the number. Why not just use 100% of this one rather than say 50 from this and 50 from that?
Sure.
That was my recollection of how we were trying to solve this just at its core level. We're talking about 1% for 30 years. It's been there from the very beginning. I'm not sure where this conversation, what else do we need to discuss? It's part of the CBA that was approved and everything else that this board has approved.
Thank you for helping me understand.
Yeah.
I wasn't at the infancy of this. I'm
Yeah.
coming in at a later date, but it's
So
certainly.
I appreciate it, and I think we can discuss items, take away, and then address everything and get this wrapped up. We are ready to go. We want to deliver this project. We have Bass Pro as the anchor tenant. Everybody wants to get this done.
So I'm going to ask this question, Todd. Can we not ask if anyone agrees with is there any agreement with Alderman Hoffman's approach to this?
Without a vote?
Yeah, without a vote. Is there anyone that tends to agree with his approach?
So I was actually gonna do the opposite and say, I recommend that we direct staff to leave it in how it is here and see where everybody stands. If that fails, then we can go
Okay.
to the next one.
All right.
Can I make that motion? So.
It's not a motion, but I can ask if everybody agrees with that.
Does everybody agree? I don't know. I would like to direct staff to accept the developer's language that is currently in the RDA that is, for lack of, or
Which
for
is 100%
complete clarity,
read
is 1% for 30 years.
Whoever has the RD in front of them, look at page 4 and look at the definition of the city hotel sales tax rebate.
Right.
And
Yes.
tell me how that differs from what they're asking for.
It doesn't.
No, there would be
It
language
doesn't.
adjusted in there. That's the whole point. We would adjust that language.
Yeah, that's the language that they want it to read like this, and Mark Spikerman is saying it should be half of that.
We need to consider, should that be the right language?
It's specifically that definition that is
Right.
the
Right.
discussion.
Okay. So
for clarity, it's 1% of the sales tax that they would generate is what they're wanting. And that's what you're asking to be continued to stay in item number 1.
Yes.
1%. Don't talk about these formulas.
Yeah, so to be clear, we collect 4%. So for every $100, we collect 4. One of those goes to.
No, wrong.
On this, just on this. So.
We collect 2%.
Yes, correct me if I'm wrong, one goes to transportation and cannot be moved. One goes
No.
to CIT and
No.
cannot be,
Not currently, she's talking about this project as is being proposed. Is that what you're trying to say, Rebecca?
then,
1% general, 0.5% transportation, 0.5% CIT. This is only referencing, on page 4, only says 100% of general. So it really is just 50% because they're leaving out CIT or transportation.
Correct.
yes.
Yes.
Yes, so it's 2%, and they're asking for, what they always considered was 50% of the 2%, which equals 1%.
Without the
If I could do simple math, if you guys don't mind, just for clarity. If you collect $10 in sales tax for a room night, okay? If you collect $10, you're asking that you get 50% of that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, wait. If we
Just make sure we get the math right.
$10
Yes?
in room tax,
Yes?
yes, it's 50%, so it'd be $5.
Correct.
Because we're
$50.
gonna get that transportation,
And
we're gonna
CIT.
get the CIT, and then the other tax that's available is 1% of the general, that
And they
they're
want all of
wanting
that.
100% of that.
They want all of
Yes.
that, which is $5 on a $10 deal, okay?
So,
Yes.
okay, yeah,
So-
so that way it keeps those other two smaller taxes intact that there is potentially, in my, potentially less administration on that, I'm not sure.
No, we,
I
on the
didn't want
city
it that
side,
way.
we don't
I did not
want, we
want it.
don't want it coming, on the city side, we don't want this general sales tax. We want to either say sales tax or reference all three of the groups and say half of those.
Well, that makes it
Half
more
of all
clear.
three,
Okay, that, if that was their, right, for their, what they're asking,
yes.
right.
Just what we've been from the beginning was the 1%. So anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so I would like to direct staff to accept this part of the RDA, to accept that they get 1% of the city hotel tax rebate for 30 years.
How many of you all agree with that?
We're not directing staff, we're directing us.
Right.
Well, somebody has to make
Somebody's
a
Including
gotta
Mark
revise the
Sparkman and Jeff
document.
White. Yeah.
Somebody has to
Mark
revise the
Sparkman and Jeff
document.
White.
Usually from the discussion, we've got to
Right.
give direction to staff on what we're wanting to see. We
The-
cannot make
whoever's-
motions, we cannot, it's not a voting situation, it's just as a whole, this is what we're recommending. So if that's what she's recommending, if all of us are in agreement, and it's not a roll call vote.
No.
It's not a resolution, it's just, if that's the direction we're going, that's the direction we're going. Which I'm so confused on why this is a discussion item on the agenda, because this seems like more of a closed door conversation. But
There was a decision we made to bring it forward to the board so that we could get it all out in public
Okay.
and be transparent. That was a decision that
I-
Rebecca and I agreed
understand.
to.
I
Is
respect
fair?
that, but
Yes.
if Rebecca's saying, here's what the recommendation we're giving to the staff, then basically it's not something we even vote on, we just like, okay, sure, let's, everybody agree on that?
But we need
It's a
four,
discussion.
4 of us need to agree on that. Do 4 of us agree with that?
I agree on that.
I think we just move on and we agree on the whole thing in
Okay. Well, that's the problem is that if we go back to, we're just going to spin circles again.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to spend a whole lot more time on this. If we can't ask for who agrees, then I'm struggling, and I don't know why we can't.
Us
I
three
agree on
do.
number one.
Kevin does not, Justin does not, Alderman
But I'd
McKay.
like for them to speak for themselves if you don't
Oh,
mind.
they just said that.
I threw it, no, I did not. I suggested something. I just threw it up there to see what you guys thought. If this is what you, if you guys are all okay with it, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
So the majority of the board agrees that we will leave the verbiage as is at the 1% of
Is there anyone that disagrees with leaving? Let's make sure, with all due respect, I don't like for aldermen to be speaking for the majority of the board, okay? All right? I want to make sure I'm clear and we have some order here on how we do this. Is there anyone that disagrees with Rebecca's proposal? Alderman Rucker.
Okay, I have a clarity. I would like for whoever, staff, Mark Spikerman or somebody, to get this written in the agreement so where it's a little more clear.
Okay.
Because I think that's the problem, is that, 1%, 100% of 1%, 100% of 2%, 100% of the sales tax, which is 2%, 100% of the general tax, which is 1%. I mean, that's the.
I understand.
And what Carrie's saying, I think, and that's just some clarity, I think, that needs to be there to help out.
So let me read the,
'Cause that's
let me
where
read the
some of it-
sentence in here, because that's what it reads. It reads, city hotel sales tax rebate means 100% of the sales tax revenues received by the city from its 1% general sales tax produced by hotel room sales within the redevelopment area for 30 years after passage. So that is how it reads.
And
If you
I-
want more clarification than that, then I can absolutely get
I
that.
will just tell you, the reason I am opposed to the way it is now is because all our other agreements did not read that way. And when I read the fact that they wanted 100%, that's 100% of 2% to me, because that's what all the other agreements we had. This is the first agreement that went different. So that's threw the monkey wrench into my brain.
I know.
Otherwise, I would have raised the issue at day one when it was 100% of the 1%. But that's.
Okay.
Okay.
So does
maybe
anyone
check with
disagree?
Alderman McKay, just to.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there anyone that disagrees with Alderman Collins's recommendation? All right, we'll move forward. Next item.
Will we call Bill out specifically, just to make sure he hears?
Bill,
us?
did you hear that question?
I did, I agree.
Okay. All right. Next item. It's called, listed as pay-go. There are, I'm going to try to explain this, and Alderman Collins, you can fill in if you fill in some blanks if you like. So there is this process that is either bonding or pay-as-you-go for TIFs, that as I understand it best through my experience, okay? This group would like to have the ability to do a mixture of bonding and potentially pay-as-you-go. The pay-as-you-go portion can be done administratively in different ways. Our consultants are recommending that we use developer notes. We've used developer notes for Deerbergs and Osage Commons. And is that all, Carrie? Or is there another one? Did I miss one, Carrie Bell?
We've done bonding for Pruitt.
Well, we have done bonding. It wasn't mixed, okay? The developer would prefer not to use developer notes, okay? There is some administrative considerations around that request. And so today, after in trying to understand this better, I spent some time with Carrie Bell to try to better understand what this meant to her, because she and her staff, and I don't know that Carrie's going to be through 23 years of this by any means, but at least she's been through through all of these, okay, and better understands what all this means from a day-to-day activity or month-to-month activity and so forth. And so I asked her to provide some input on her thoughts around this. So Carrie, if the board doesn't mind, I'd like for Carrie to provide some insight as to what her thoughts are around this.
From what I'm understanding at a very quick review of this, there is some long-term financial planning in this, but the combination, so the cons to doing the pay-as-you-go.
Pay-go as the developer is asking, is that what you mean?
The pros to doing notes or structured
Pros
financing.
to notes, okay, go ahead.
Okay. So the redevelopment notes bonds provide structural formalized financing mechanism. They're backed by tax increment or similar dedicated revenue sources and establish defined repayment terms. The positives provides potential for accelerated project funding, supports faster development timelines, improving competitive. Offers structured obligations with clearer amortization and compliance requirements, resulting in stronger financial oversight, enhances developer ability to secure private financing due to predictable repayment terms, and provides long-range financial planning when revenue projections are stable. Creates well-documented audit trail through formal issue and reporting. So if we do two types, you are doubling the administrative burden on the city because any type of bond financing, note financing has its administrative burden. If you combine that with a pay-as-you-go, also, you're basically doubling your administrative work for the city.
Okay.
So I do not recommend a pay-as-you-go option for financing redevelopment projects.
You feel like this is going to be much more complicated than you would like to take on. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. Alderman Collins.
Carrie, when we were talking about this in our meetings, there are firms that will manage this on our behalf. If, like, there's outside firms that we can, kind of like the bond monitor, that if they choose to do. So just to kind of fill the rest of everybody in on what the option that they're trying to keep on the table. They don't know that they're going to go this route, but they would like the option that when they do the initial project, and I'm going to use very rough numbers, these are not the actual numbers, but that of the project, they do bonding for $100 million of it, and then they have the option to do a pay-go for the remaining 1/3 of the project. So the first part would be bonded, and then they would have the option to do pay-go for the last third of it if they want to go that route. They have the option to do bonds for the whole thing, but they wanted that secondary option. My question, and I think that Mark Spikerman had said that there are a handful of companies that will manage that for us. And I know the RDA requires that the developers out of the TIF proceeds would have to pay any of our administrative fees for that. Does that solve the problem from your perspective, or does it not?
It does not totally solve the problem because the city still has to generate all the data. We still have to collect the revenues. We have to give all that, we still have to bill the entities, forward that. So then we're, like I said, we're forwarding a piece to a bond issue, and then we're forwarding another piece based on what? A percentage or something. It gets, we had a situation like this where we had 2 bond issues in one project before, and it was complicated to figure out this revenue went here, this revenue went here. So it is adding levels of complexity to the process. Some of it's unavoidable.
Do you have a solution that we should consider that maybe we aren't? Or are you like, I don't want to make a recommendation, I'm just answering your questions?
I'm just trying to give you information.
Perfect.
Well, as far as, I don't know what you mean by that we haven't considered, but my impression is that we're comfortable. We've done developer notes before, and that feels like a good process for the pay-as-you-go approach. Is that a fair statement, Carrie?
That is the first choice.
That's our first choice. Thank you. Okay.
I guess the question comes down to, for me, if the developer cannot get financing based on this way of doing it, is it something that we want to risk the last third of the deal of the project not getting done because they don't have all of the options to do all of the things? I don't think PAYGO is their first choice either. They just, and Chris, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that my impression was that PAYGO wasn't their first choice. They just want to make sure the option's there in case all else fails so that they can complete, they definitely have a method to complete the project. Is that accurate?
So our first choice is to do bonds, as you guys, I think, expect. The project was broken into multiple RPAs originally. We consolidated those into one, and we still have multiple projects within one RPA. Our focus is to deliver the retail lineup, which includes the Bass Pro as an anchor tenant, and as the property is built out, because we have 600 hotel units with an entertainment district, this all comes to fruition a little bit later in the process, but our focus is delivering Bass Pro. And what we're saying is right now we plan to do bonds, and then on the next phase, we would just need the flexibility to execute on the rest of the project. whether that's bonds, which is our preferred method on the next part of the project as well, pay-go, developer bonds. We just need the flexibility to make sure that we can execute on the project as a whole.
So if I could ask you, Chris, is there any concern with you on your side of doing developer notes, which is what our staff's preference is?
Our focus is to make sure we can deliver the project. So if developer notes become difficult and we go in a pay-go process, this was discussed between John Hanson and Mark Spikerman. It's my knowledge that they agreed, and this has been done in multiple projects, across the state of Missouri.
My conversation with Mark Spikeman, unfortunately couldn't be here, is that I don't know whether they agreed to or not. Mark has just continuously recommended throughout this that we do developer notes, and we do not go do PAYGO, not pay as you go, but pay-go, okay? And that's throughout several different pieces of the language in this document. And so with that said, I still haven't understood the answer of, is there a concern on the developer's part with doing developer notes? Because that's what we would prefer to leave in the RDA. That's what Mark Sparkerman is recommending that we leave in the RDA.
Our focus is to have the flexibility to complete the project.
Okay. Okay. Is there any?
Yes.
Alderman George.
With this project, it being a rather large project, we'll be bringing in some extra revenue with this. If that was allocated to providing you with an admin that could maybe help them with this pay-to-go, would that warrant that position? Potentially? This is to you, Carrie. I'm sorry, I should have specified that.
I think the admin and potential of hiring consultants is addressed in this agreement.
And that would be paid for through the TIF part of it, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that does leave us open to providing your team with some support. Does that alleviate the issue with the pay-to-go to maybe supporting you there?
It's still cumbersome for a city with the size of staff that we currently have.
Okay, thank you.
Still not ideal.
Still not ideal.
For
Alderman Rucker.
So do I understand, Carrie, the concern is that if they do the developer's notes, we're good to go. It's not a problem. It's what we've been used to doing. But if they go to the pay-as-you-go method, especially if they do part of the project under one and part of the other, there's going to be additional workload on you. I also understand from Alderman Collins that apparently, from what your understanding is, there is some firms out there that can assist in providing this if we outsource it, okay? But there still is going to be some workload on us, okay, on the city to do that, to help outsource it, okay?
Can I clarify on that really quickly? So apparently outsourcing it to an entity that does that does not solve all of our problems. So I don't want to make it sound like, oh, we could outsource this and it solves all the problems. It doesn't. It alleviates them. It alleviates some of them. It doesn't solve them all. So I don't want to give the impression that, hey, this is a fix for it, because it's not a full fix.
So what's going to solve all of our problems is providing additional, is the fact that the city's going to have additional workload. That's
Yes.
what's going to, and I guess we will not have an opportunity to say, okay, if you go to the pay-as-you-go, we're going to hire this extra person, and we need an extra $50,000 a year to pay half their salary.
That's in here.
Is that in here? So we would just have to go back to them and say, okay.
Yes.
Now, they would not, but they could go ahead and do it and then refuse to pay us.
It comes out of the TIF proceeds. So the city's administrative costs are covered out of their TIF proceeds. So out of the $149 million TIF, our city administrative costs are included in that.
but is there room to all of a sudden up that ante if all of a sudden they go to this program?
Yeah, they're gonna have to cut something. Yeah, they're gonna have to make adjustments on their end. If they cost us more, they're gonna have to make some adjustments
those-
on their end.
so that
But that's on them, not on us.
Okay, because I thought the agreement was already there, that we were locked into those numbers.
The agreement hasn't been locked in. That's what we're trying to do, is get the agreement.
So if we
to get
can have
locked
the
in.
flexibility to basically say, okay, you've went to this other program and we had, you know, we didn't build that in part, and now we're going to have additional funding to do the paperwork and all the stuff that's needed to be done. If we can put that kind of language in there, then I can support what they want. If not, it's definitely got to be a developer's notes 100%. That's my position.
So the city administrative costs in the RDA are not, they're not listed. It doesn't say we get $50,000 for administrative costs. It's just whatever our costs are. We aren't legally allowed to make money on this.
Right.
But whatever our costs are, we absolutely
We have to
can charge
justify
to
it,
them.
obviously.
Yes, we have to justify it.
That's fair.
But it's not like we have in here that it's 50,000 and now all of a sudden it's gonna be 100,000 because of this. It's whatever our costs are, they're included.
Okay, that's interesting, because I thought that we were locked in on previous ones to where it was X number of dollars a year, and then every year it went up a certain percent.
So on the CID, the TDD, and the entertainment district, it is laid out. It's 3%. There's a certain amount. Do you know what it is, Chris? It
I don't
goes
have
up
to know exactly what
3%.
it is, but
It's $15,000.
I think it's 15
It starts
plus
at
3%.
15,000 and goes up 3% a year after that. So for
First-
those districts, absolutely it is
all
laid
right,
out.
so I did
on the-
remember seeing it.
Correct.
Okay.
On the TIF, it is not.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Alderman Hoffman.
So is there a way to say that the pay-go could only be started or used at a certain point of the project or a certain phase, or when all other bonding options were terminated or not applicable?
So that might be something. Could we put something in there that pay goes basically your last resort? It's your last choice anyway. So can we have it in there that you have the pay-go option when you've exhausted,
So
when
if
you've
you're-
exhausted the others?
So if you're asking that we put preferred option and, you know, I'm more than happy to address this, however, whatever makes everybody happy. Our focus again is on bonds. So this is just if we don't know what the market's going to be here, you know, let's say there's a conflict that doesn't resolve itself and we just have to go different alternatives. We are trying to keep our alternatives open so we can deliver the project.
Well, what I'm trying to do is create the flexibility you're looking for, but define it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's what's hard to define, but, you know, if, to me, we can come up with a solution there. This is not a big item that I think is difficult to solve. It's just, if you're going from here to St. Louis, do you take Highway 70 or Highway 44? It's a preference of the method of getting there. We're talking about admin costs, they're paid for out of the TIF dollars. So the TIF is capped at a certain number, so if that expense brings it down, so be it. I mean, that's just what we're working with.
But we absolutely want
Yeah.
you to take a
No.
car to St. Louis and not a horse, unless you
Well-
have to take the horse.
Yeah, no, listen, we're discussing the point A to point B methodology. I think from our perspective, let's focus on the economic opportunity, that when you're talking about having more needs for staff on, let's say, this one little item, you're going to have a lot more needs for staff because there's going to be a lot more people coming here and a lot more people visiting here. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to cost more, but the revenue that's coming off of this project is massive.
Okay,
The
let's
city
focus
is-
on what we're talking about with pay-go here, if you don't mind.
Get your sales hat off.
Well, look, just to help expedite, since I'm good with pay-go as defined as we just kind of talked about.
I'm not sure what we just
I
talked about,
agree
though.
with Justin Hoffman on that as well, of
What did we
using
just,
it as
so
the
with
last
clarity, if you don't
resort.
mind, what did we just talk about? We talked about them having some flexibility to do bonding versus pay-go, right?
Yeah, and we're gonna
The question
define
is
that.
that whenever they go to the pay-go section, if they decide that at $100 million, Chris talked about two different sections, the retail section versus potentially the entertainment section. That's what we've talked about, okay? And if they do a bonding for $100 million on the retail section, they do $50 million, they want to do something other than bonding, okay? If they do something other than bonding, how are we going to administrate it? That's what the question is, as I understand it. Is the administration going to be internal to where we have to do all of the work that we haven't done in the past and is going to have to be done is in a much complicated way, or is there a simpler way around developer notes? One of the things that I may suggest is that we start talking about, not tonight, but in the future, with Alderman Collins and I, as we work with this team, is that there's some flexibility once they decide to go down the pay-go path. And that gets determined at that point. I don't know that needs to be determined right at this moment in
Well,
this RDA. Go ahead, Alderman Collins, please. I'm sorry, I thought she had her hand up
No,
first. She didn't have her hand up, my apologies.
He was already talking.
Okay,
so-
go ahead, Stephen. Or, George, sorry.
I agree with Alderman Hoffman with setting this up. I think we are at a point where we can get to some type of agreement here as opposed to pushing this can down the road. I like the idea, and this is my preference as well. Well, I mean, I'm aligned with Hoffman on this, that the pay-go is the last resort. Use the bonds, contractor bonds, whatever it is, and then the pay-to-go. Ultimately, what we're doing is we're saying that the city may not be able to support this, but we have the funds to make this be able to be supported through the TIF by staffing and what we have there. So I'm confused on why we don't keep this in there for them to make sure that this project happens. So for me, I think that it should not be the first resort. I think that like Alderman Hoffman had mentioned, is that we have a definition on it that states that this is what's used first, this is what's used second, and then maybe, at the final resort, that's what it is.
So can I clarify one
Go
thing?
right ahead, Alderman Collins.
So to clarify why this eventually got its way in here, the first RDA did not have this in there. And Jeff White expressed some, is there a duck? Or have I really lost my mind?
No,
Like,
it's Dan's fault.
you guys hear it too, right?
We love Dan, and it's his fault.
Okay, so the original incarnation of the RDA did not have this in there, and I think that it actually came from Jeff White, who expressed concern that if they did the initial bond offering at $100 million, that they might have difficulty going back and getting additional bonds to complete the project, and that we needed to have the flexibility in there. Now, this is not the method that was Jeff's preferred way of getting that flexibility in there, but Chris's team then said, oh, okay, let's plan for that situation so we have a plan B and a plan C. Their first plan is to bond all of it at once is the first choice. If they can't, they'll do a partial bonding for the first and then try to bond the remaining 1/3. If it fails to get bonding for the remaining 1/3, then they're going to come back and work with us on other alternatives. But we all agree bonding, okay, not all of us, because I know some of us hate bonding, but that is the first choice on this project, correct?
So, from the development team's perspective, our focus is to do bonds. And the accountability that comes with bonds, also is another thing to consider, that this is not a scenario where money is just dropped into an account and it's free will dealt with. This is a very distinct process that has a lot of accountability. And, when you're speaking to the breaking up the project because we do not have multiple RPAs, that's the solution that was come up with by conversations with Jeff White, Mark Spikerman, John Hanson, and our full development team. These were asked and answered. This is the solution, and You know, as far as the recommendation and the preferred method, these are just the ways that makes things possible. There is no delineation of which one's the best one and which one's not. This is just, here's the options. This is the menu. So it's the
Okay.
flexibility to make sure we deliver the project.
If everyone's okay, I'd like to go ahead and move on to the number 3. Are we okay with that?
No.
Well, we don't have an answer.
We don't have an answer to this.
on this one.
I think we're
Are
pretty
we-
close to getting it.
Are we going to leave the language in the RDA as it stands, or Alderman Hoffman, Alderman Rucker?
I'm sorry, yeah.
Does anybody, how does anybody want us to change the language as it currently is?
Alderman Osteen.
I thought we just wanted them to clarify the positioning on, when it comes to this, our first option we will exhaust will be A, next will be B, then the pay-as-you-go. I thought that's what the whole conversation was
That's what I thought
saying
too.
was,
Yes.
yes, we will allow that as an option, but only once we get verification that you have exhausted these other options.
Yes.
Chris, you got that?
I got it.
Can your team make those changes and?
On this process, because I know what it's been in the past, but if they choose to go away from the bond to another method, B method, C, whatever those other ones are, we are saying that we need to be notified each time they do a different choice other than a bond?
Yes.
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 We don't have to be approved, but we got to be notified.
We need to verify they've exhausted that route and that option, and
So
not
we need
just
to have
tell us a
some, I
yes or
just want
no.
to get it out
That's
there
right.
in the open. We need,
We
because I
want
don't want them all of a
documentation
sudden to come to
verifying,
the
yeah.
board a couple of years from now, all of a sudden say, yeah, well, we just did this. We're like, whoa, 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 we didn't know you guys couldn't bond.
That's
Maybe
right.
we could have helped
You nailed it.
do
Rucker.
something.
You nailed it.
Okay, I'm okay.
Yep.
You got your clarification?
Verbiage and clarification that you're exhausting these options in a tiered step program.
We can work on that tomorrow. I understand.
Well,
We can work on that tomorrow.
Okay, it's,
Rebecca, you know what we want.
I'm trying to think of how do you put a thought to paper, but if Becca,
We'll figure it out.
you and I can figure this out. Thank you, board.
And
Could we maybe take a 5-minute recess?
We can take a bio. 5 minutes, thank you.
Doesn't have to be by.
Well, I'm going to say it on it is.
Save everybody else. But oh well, what do I know?
we're going to call this back to order. Is there any more discussion that anyone feels we need to have on item number 2? All right, we'll move forward to number 3. Their hotel, we have been trying, without naming brands or being specific about brands or brand names, we've tried to use a hotel quality index, hotel brand quality index. We've utilized this before in the past. The developer agreed to what's on there's a band of brands that lie within the upscale hotel. They've agreed to that for the first 10 years. They would like to have the flexibility to downgrade after 10 years. Our consultants have recommended that we should either require 23 years of upscale with a penalty of losing their hotel tax rebate. I'm sorry, thank you, April. For those that were out there that you couldn't hear me, I apologize. Would require 23 years of upscale quality with a penalty of losing their hotel tax rebate, which is consistent with the agreement from the Oasis. One of the suggestions that I've had is that if they wanted to downgrade, that they could come back to the board for approval if they wanted to downgrade. In other words, and I don't want to use brand names, but if they wanted to use a level that's here and they say, well, that level of branding has not been successful for us, then come back to us after 10 years when you feel like you want to make that change as a board, and I know it may probably not be any of us, might be, but let the board have something to say with that versus giving them that option 10 years down the road at their discretion. Go ahead, Alderman Collins.
I was answering a different question. I apologize, sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were getting ready to speak, so I was making sure you got the first chance to.
Nope, I'm ready when you're finished, but finish what you're.
I'm finished with that, and who would like to speak next about that? Alderman Collins?
Okay. So just to clarify, the levels of the brands are luxury, upper upscale, extended stay, upper mid-scale, and economy. We have requested that they are at the upscale or higher. In the original agreement we put for 23 years, they asked for the ability to downgrade at the 10-year mark if the occupancy that they're getting does not warrant maintaining the level that they're currently at. Obviously, if they have full occupancy and everything is going well, they wouldn't want to just downgrade their own hotel, especially if they spent all the money to build it up front. But they are asking for the ability to downgrade one level at the end of 10 years if their bookings, for lack of a better term, require it.
It doesn't say one scale in here, though. It doesn't say.
It absolutely should. I don't think that we should allow them more flexibility than one level.
Right, so like, we want to leave economy out, and we want to leave, like. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So I personally, I didn't mean to, sorry.
Alderman Hoffman, go ahead.
I apologize. I didn't mean to take the floor like that. I would be okay with it going down one level, and to include the extended stay too. I think that's a good thing for us here.
Okay.
So maybe the extended stay and one other level. I don't know what was it go down to luxury or something?
Yeah, they're right next to each other. They are luxury, upper upscale, extended stay, and then upper mid-scale.
So that's where I would draw the line right there, personally.
At upscale, extended stay, and then they can drop down one to the upper mid-scale, which according to Google right now, that includes Hampton by Hilton. Thought those were two separate companies, but maybe Hampton.
No. Don't know.
Okay.
That's where I would land on that, and that makes it pretty simple to where you don't have to come back in 10 years to me, but if they were wanting to go lower than that, then I think you should come back to the board to consider, but I would be comfortable at that level.
To clarify what you're saying, they have to start at the current upscale that they're at, and then at 10 years, they could drop down to upper mid-scale without coming back to the board, but anything lower than that, they have to come back to the board. Am I understanding what you're saying? Okay.
Correct. Alderman Osteen.
I think at the end of the day, it's heads in beds is what they call it. I don't like the idea that we're only going to allow them based on bookings, based on revenue for a 10-year period to say you can only drop one level, because if they find that their market is 2 levels lower than that, that's going to fill that hotel and give them more booking and room nights. Why are we going to basically tie them to only downscaling 1 level? Because at the end of the day, after 10 years worth of data, we're going to know basically what is driving that revenue, what is driving the amount of those bookings. If it's because they have priced themselves out, because they are, I'm going to use Marriott as an example, because they are a W Hotel or Ritz-Carlton, which is their upscale, and they've gone down to whatever next level is that really going to accomplish what they're trying to do as far as retaining more bookings, more room nights? No. I agree 100% with allowing them the 10-year flexibility. I don't agree with just doing it per a specific level, because that reason they're going to want to drop the scale of the hotel is, once again, based on booking data. They may need to go 2 tiers down or 3 tiers down. What's going to guarantee they're filling that hotel and they're being competitive with the other hotels in the area?
So you're saying they have to initially build at upscale, but at the 10-year mark, they can make any change that they want?
With board approval, but it's going to be, that's going to be based on data.
They're not saying that.
Right.
We are.
Yeah.
Okay, so Justin's saying they don't have to come back to the board to move down 2 spots. If they want to move further down than 2, then it requires board approval.
That is exactly what I'm saying.
I agree, and at that point, we will have the data to support why, instead of going down 1 tier, they need to go down 2 or 3.
Alderman McKay. Can you hear me?
I'm locked out.
I'm sorry?
He said he's locked out.
Oh, you're.
There you go. Yeah, I agree with going back to board approval personally. I think that simplifies the whole thing, whether they drop 1 or 2 tiers. I think the board needs to be involved in that decision-making.
Is that for the entire duration? So if at any point in the 23 years, they want to drop below the upper scale, you're saying if they drop even 1 at any point in 23 years, it needs to come back to the board?
Well, I believe you said it's after the first 10 years they have the option, correct?
That's what they're asking for.
That's what they're asking for. How it reads currently is that at any time in the 23 years, they have to maintain that upper level for the entirety of the 23 years. If they drop below that, as it currently stands, if they drop below that, then we can suspend their sales tax rebate until they bring it back to the upper scale, and that's for 23 years. They're asking to only be locked in for 10 years and then have flexibility to go down 1 or 2 spots at 10 years without board approval if necessary.
And I think it should have board approval.
Alderman Rucker. Oh, I'm sorry, just for clarity. Alderman McKay, did you have anything more?
Nope, that's it.
Thank you, Alderman Rucker.
Let's go back to the square one on this, please. The levels that you're talking about there, some industry standard,
yes.
Blah, blah, blah. Okay, my concern is if we're tying this 23-year agreement to that rating system, is that rating system going to be here exactly like that in 23 years or in 10 years? So if we're saying that they can only go down 1 level, I'd like to put it to bed and be done with it, and they can do whatever the heck they want. But my concern is if we follow what Alderman Hoffman says, and all of a sudden in 10 or 12 years that there's a different rating mechanism out there that that doesn't fit our agreement.
That's fair.
That leads me to say, if they want to do anything different other than that rating that we approved right now, whatever that super word is, that anything, they have to come back. And I hate to put that back onto the board and that way, but that's my concern of a different mechanism that's all of a sudden out there.
We reference in the agreement, we reference a specific hotel rating system. Like the website is listed in there. It's a hotel industry standard. I cannot imagine that it's going somewhere. It's like this same thing, it's like bond ratings.
Like the Dow Jones Industrial?
Right. Like, it might look different, but it's still gonna be there, and we reference that specific quality index.
Okay, well, that was my first concern.
This is the one we're using. You can't go pick a different one.
Right.
This is the one we're using.
And one of the ideas is 10 or 12 or 15 years from now, that index may say, well, what used to be there 10 years ago, they haven't kept their quality standards to this level. And so they can reshuffle the deck, for lack of a better term. Alderman Osteen.
Yeah, part of what scares me, it's basically an economic crystal ball that we don't know.
Sure.
It's to say, who knows in 10 years from now that Holiday Inn Express doesn't come in across the street, or Red Roof Inn, or La Quinta, or one of those that are booked solid every night, and people are thinking, value, I'm not gonna stay at this top-tier hotel, which is double the cost of staying at the hotel across the street. So I don't think we need to lock them in to a specific tier that tough for 23 years, obviously, which is how it rates right now, and give them more leeway to drop in 10 years, 2 levels down, 3 levels down, because it's all gonna be based on competition. And we don't have a crystal ball to know how many more other hotels are coming into this area. And are they gonna be competitive?
If I could for just a second, what I hear is no one wants to necessarily lock them in. Some of folks feel that there should be board approval to move down, and some don't. My theory has always been the only reason for the board approval is that way they can demonstrate that. Come demonstrate to the board that there's a necessity to do so. Yeah. And so that's why I feel like a reasonable compromise, if you will, is not necessarily take the language out that we're going to automatically penalize them. Just come give us a good pitch, if you will, and if the board says, yeah, we've been over there and it isn't what we wanted, or we don't see enough people over there, and you can demonstrate some records that provide good sound reasoning for it, then so be it. Alderman Rucker, go right ahead.
Well, I look at this as a bigger picture. My concern is this. We have had other TIFs in the city that have come in and presented their case based on their marketing people and what their projections are. And they have come in, and I'm not going to name specific TIFs, but they have come in based on their information, and they've been willing to lock in and say, this is the way it's going to be, and this is what we're going to do, and that's it. Now, can they come back to us after they've been going for 10, 15, 20 years and say, well, we've got a little problem here? I guess they could. I don't know. But this organization is saying right up front, we don't know if we don't know if we can guarantee it, and we don't want to take the risk. We don't want to take that risk, so we want a way that we can change at 10 years. And I have a concern about that, because that tells me maybe their overall, marketing and projections of stuff. So that's one of my concerns. I do not want to see them change the level of their hotel facility unless they get penalized in less revenue or they get approval from the board. Those are my two caveats.
Okay, hang on one second. Kerry Patterson, you put your hand up, so go right ahead. Go ahead, Kerry.
Yeah, so one of the things that I would just present to the board in a situation like this, when you start talking about levels of hotels or level of retail or anything else, very similar to a planned unit development, is that you start with a standard, they sell a standard, and they're not just selling that standard to the community, they're also selling that standard to the rest of the groups that are going to go within the development that says, we're Bass Pro Shop, and we are here, and we are located next to a, regardless of what that level is.
Courtyard.
And whether it's a name or it's a, luxury hotel, it's no different than what a PUD would expect. It's kind of a protection for the other tenants and property owners within it to know that they're tied in for at least this amount of time, which is 23 years at this point. after that 23 years, your authority goes away, whereas like in a PUD, it does not. But it at least protects any of the other ones that would come in, knowing that they're going to have a certain level or a certain specter of hotel that they can advertise along with their, services. So that's part of something to consider. And typically, like Alderman Rucker would say, the one thing that may change in that rating scale would be the room night cost, so that may go up from, being luxury from, $800 a room night, and with the economy could go up to $1,200, but that will fluctuate with that scale. So we would stay.
Okay, I'm sorry, Alderman Collins.
So one thing that I do want to clarify, that from the developer's position, why they're asking for this is not because their marketing people aren't doing their jobs. Part of their plan for this development is to have a third party own and operate the hotel on the entertainment district. And there is some concern on their part of them being attractive for a hotel or person to come in and want to build a hotel on that property if they have this requirement. I don't know how accurate that is. I will say that for the most part, in my research, most hotel franchises are between 15 and 20 years. So if they sign an initial franchise agreement with, say, a Courtyard, then that's a 15 to 20-year agreement that they have to maintain those standards from Marriott. So it's not just with us, and they're asking to be able to revisit that at 10 years without coming to the board is what they're asking for. We can certainly say no. I'm just relaying the information so everybody's clear.
Alderman Hoffman.
So another reason I think that we should, at 10 years, I think that we should absolutely give them the option to come back to the board. But another reason I want to make it to where they don't have to come back to the board, just to drop it 1 or 2, basically it's 1, is because that incentivizes them to try and get that level here, because they know they can negotiate that years before and say, look, we're not getting there, but we know in 2 years we're gonna have this option, and they can start working on that then, instead of waiting all the way to that 10 years and then being completely hamstrung by, well, we maybe can do this if we can get board approval. If we get a Hampton Inn in there in 10 years, and that, I can totally live with that. So I like dropping it at 10 years down to that level automatically, so they can negotiate in advance if they need to get that level in there, and anything below that, they would have to come to the board.
I agree.
I agree.
I can live with that.
Let me clarify, just so I hear what he said. We're going to give them the ability to come in at a level 10, I'll just call it for easy. They're coming in at level 10, and they can drop at any time to a level 9.
No. After 10 years.
At 10 years.
Okay, that's all I wanted to clarify.
Without our approval.
So at 10 years, they're saying everything's doing fine, we're not gonna do nothing. But at 10 years or 9 years, they're saying things ain't going the way we wanna go, we need to drop to a level 8. Well, we're gonna have to go back and sell the city.
Yep. But a 9's okay.
But a 9 would be okay to drop it at year 10 without saying or doing anything. They have our permission.
Yep.
But if they want to drop lower than that, then at that time, do we need to say something in the agreement about the fact of, or do we, well, I don't think we need to say anything and let the board at that time say, you want to drop to an 8? We're going to cut your TIF revenue.
Correct.
Give them
The
that.
hotel tax, not the TIF. It can't be the
Right,
TIF.
it's the
but
hotel tax.
sales tax.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we have understanding of that. Can we move on to the next one? Is
McKay.
everybody?
Bill, ask Bill.
Bill, did you have your hand up? I'm sorry. Alderman?
No, I agree with everybody just said there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So is everybody good with moving on to the next one?
Yes.
Okay. Current draft allows for delays in performance for many unforeseen reasons. At the top of page 32, if you haven't read it, one of the things that it says is and it goes into things like terrorism and strikes and lockouts and pandemic, but it also has one general comment here that says adverse conditions such as a recession, okay? There's been some concerns about that. Recessions can be a subjective term. My recommendation is that we provide a clear definition of what a recession is, and there are some clear definitions out there that are being used, and we add to it. I don't know that they necessarily, because this is their last rep, we haven't even asked them if they're, and Chris is here if you want to ask, whether they have any concerns in defining what a recession is, but that is one of the things that our team has recommended, meaning Mark Spikerman and Jeff White, that we get more clarity around what a recession is. Alderman Collins, go ahead. If you had your
My
hand up.
understanding is that we were using the term recession as defined by the federal government, meaning 2 quarters of negative GDP growth.
Right.
Sounds fine to me.
So Mark and Jeff want something different than that?
No, we hadn't actually talked that in front of the judge. They were just saying that's not enough. Adverse market conditions as a recession is not enough. We should
Oh, so that term, that definition, according to Mark and Jeff, needs to be expanded.
dialed in.
So they didn't give us any more of what they wanted to say?
I think we might be talking about 2 different things. Mark and Jeff, there was something else that was in the agreement at one point in time, lack of available financing. There was something in there unfavorable, I don't remember, that they were very, very opposed to adverse market conditions by itself as an excusable delay was not acceptable, but such as a recession, my understanding was that it was. But it has to be officially a recession, not, hey, the Dow went down 1%, so we're gonna say that that's adverse market conditions. It has to be a recession or a depression.
This is for an extension of time, by the way, just for clarity.
Yeah,
Does that
so
leave
they have to complete it by 2031, and they don't toll time if there is a recession, essentially. It extends their time to complete the project if there is a recession that could limit their ability to make progress.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I'm not clear where we're at odds, or we're different with it. That's what I'm trying to figure out so I can even argue one way or the other. I don't know what the difference between what they want and what we want.
This is what they've offered. We have not gotten a chance in the spirit of time. We decided to bring this question forward and see if there's any, I guess I'll ask it this way. Is there any concern with trying to clarify what a recession is or adverse conditions?
Okay, now we're getting down to what the root of the question is.
Because the adverse conditions, such as a recession, isn't necessarily, is fairly subjective, is in my opinion, okay? Alderman Osteen.
Now it'd be good to listen to what the other aldermen say, since I understand the question.
The general term recession basically is going to be a domino effect of most of the items listed already on reasons for non-performance. Obviously after a pandemic, obviously after a war or civil unrest, et cetera, there's going to be a recession. So I was a little unsure on why we were really debating this, because obviously if these events happen, that's going to be an automatic recession, end of story.
But if a recession happens without them.
But if we're going to, well, recessions don't happen out of nowhere. But from a finance market, they don't just happen. There's usually a huge event on why the recession is a domino effect. But I'm fine with saying, okay, if we want to clarify the verbiage and tie this to some government agency that states we are officially in a recession based on these data per quarter, year over year, et cetera, that's fine with me. But once again, in and of themselves, the reasons for non-performance themselves are basically dictating a recession, such as COVID.
Okay. Other comments? Alderman Hoffman.
Let's just find verbiage we both agree on. It seems like it's that simple, right? Okay.
Yep. All right. Anybody?
Stephen had some, I was wanting to listen to.
I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand. I apologize.
I was just going to say the same thing, that, I mean, we've came to that conclusion that the government has a set term and how it is, and this is what a recession is, 2 quarters, then use that.
I don't know that the government says that. That's generally accepted from what I gather.
Or whoever
Right.
determines that, and it is stated, and we have documentation from powers to be then.
Sure.
So, may I
You guys
speak?
all good with this? Because I cannot wrap my head around this thing. I've been spending a lot of time in the last day or so, and I still don't understand it. But if the rest of you are okay, let's move forward. I'll dig into Rebecca's brain in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
So,
Todd Miller asked for some, Todd, you're recognized.
Thank you.
Federal Treasury.
Thank you, panel. In my world, a phrase that says adverse conditions such as leaves open what the interpretation of adverse conditions would be. Those include, according to my brief research tonight, higher interest rates, inflation, labor shortages, material cost increases, difference in financing, or difficulties in financing, lower than expected sales or leases, and stock market declines. So if you want to include that grocery list, to your point, Mr. Osteen, none of those are listed save and except a strike.
So we should just list a recession as an excusable delay?
Unless you want to list.
A recession or depression as announced by the National Bureau of Economic Research?
Unless you want to list all of those factors that I just talked about, or the variables I talked about, because it seems to be, and these people will have very good legal counsel, they will argue that adverse market conditions could include all of the following.
I can do that.
All right, any other further on this subject anybody wants to have any conversation on?
May
Next, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
May I have one more moment?
Sure, go right ahead.
I'm sorry to revert back to hotel quality standards. Do you anticipate food and beverage and meeting space to be the fulcrum to determine whether you're going to step back or not? Because that seems to be, when I look at the classifications of hotels, that seems to be the distinction between where you're starting and where you may want to go.
On one scale down, is that what you mean?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Chris.
That conversation surrounds David Mashburn, who has been working with the hoteliers. And after about 10 years, franchises can require PIPs. It's a property improvement plan. And if they need to upgrade the property at that time is when they can slide up or down on the scale. That is also predicated on the performance of the Lake Oasis project and the Marriott specifically with the 50,000 square feet of meeting space that's anticipated to be completed. So we can't have a crystal ball on what the market will be.
Fair.
And that's why the flexibility is in there. Opening the hotel is what we initially discussed as that, from the measure that's been described, the negotiated position was the 10 years. So we've already gone through this and negotiated, so here we are renegotiating something.
Thank you. That was my question.
I misunderstood, Chris. If you mind a little clarity, what have you negotiated, sir? I don't quite understand that.
Yeah.
But we've already discussed this as a point to bring it into conversation with Dave Mashburn. If you put a restriction towards an end-of-life hotel, if you look at some of the hotels that were here that were built in the 90s that then after 2008 went away, yeah, I mean, there's no crystal ball. The market is what defines, the standards of, your ADR, your average daily rate, and your occupancy. That's how the hotels make money. So by limiting a hotel to make money is what we want to get away from. We want to create every opportunity for everyone to make money. The highest standards is what our focus is. This is only a what-if scenario.
Great, thank you. Anything else on this? All right, number 5, reimbursement from default. I'm going to do my best to describe, and Alderman Collins, you may want to chime in. If in the event the developer defaults and has incurred reimbursable costs, but not been reimbursed at the time of default, they want reimbursed if a subsequent party enters the project and completes the project. If the subsequent developer enters and completes the project and doesn't use all of the available TIF allowed revenues, they would be able to get, as the first defaulting developer, any remaining TIF revenues that haven't been claimed. Is that a fair way to put it? Okay.
Yes.
All right. And why we're having these conversations is because we have people that represent us and for our best interests, and they believe that they strongly oppose this language and feel it will significantly limit the probability of a developer to emerging and completing the project. So this is, it keeps coming back in the agreements that come back from the developer, and we are trying to find a way to get past this. So go ahead, Alderman Collins, if you have anything. If not, I'll ask questions or take questions from other folks.
So I'll kind of explain it in a nutshell. So back to that $150 million to make it easy, using round numbers. So let's say that they get halfway through the project and something happens and they default on the project. Anything that they have spent on the project that has not been reimbursed, if they default on it, those are no longer reimbursable, right? What they're asking for is if a subsequent developer comes in, completes the project, and the project then starts generating sales tax, and that there's money left over at the end, that they can have their expenses reimbursed that would have been eligible. So the example that I use is, let's say they go in and do $20 million in streets. And those streets are obviously beneficial to the next developer and enables them to complete the project. At the end of the project, the second developer has gotten all of their reimbursements and there's $10 million left over that hasn't been spent, then the original developer would be eligible for reimbursement, but it would be the last thing paid out at the end of the TIF. And obviously assuming the project was completed and is generating sales tax.
Can I ask a direct question to that real quick?
Alderman Osteen first, if you don't mind.
Okay, this is one that most confused me. Because if the development is partially completed and they default in the agreement, or basically they have to get out of the agreement or the development, I don't understand why the new entity coming in wouldn't already, as part of the negotiation to take over the project, reimburse them for their money into the game.
They very well may.
This one confused me on why wouldn't that already be part of a negotiation for a new entity to take over the development? Why would we be responsible to trying to reimburse them at the
Sure, sure.
Like I said, this one confused me. Maybe I'm not thinking it through correctly. I would like somebody else to give me more examples on why I'm not seeing this. The way I'm seeing it is, I would think the reimbursement of those costs would be part of an initial discussion for somebody else to take it over.
So theoretically, and I mean, we're going to talk about all kinds of worst case scenarios that maybe wouldn't be great, but so let's say my house, right? Let's say it's my house and all of us, and I'm halfway through remodeling my kitchen and I quit paying my mortgage and my house goes into foreclosure. I don't have any say on what happens with that. It's the bank owns it. It's up to that. So expecting it to be part of a deal might be a stretch. I also kind of think that this is really a long shot to ever coming to fruition anyway, because it would require the subsequent developer to not spend all of the available resources that they have. They would have to spend less, and let's be honest, that's probably not going to happen anyway. It was just a safety net thing for them, that if they have what would otherwise be reimbursable costs and that there is revenue in the TIF to reimburse them at the end, that be considered.
Is this something we've ever negotiated with any TIF program?
I can't
Not
answer
to my
that.
knowledge, but I don't believe so, but.
I don't think so.
Alderman Hoffman was next.
So when you say we get to that end and there's $10 million left over, is it really left over, or would that new developer consider that to be their money?
Well, if they've already submitted all of their expenses for reimbursement, and it would be after they've submitted all of their expenses for reimbursement. So if it's
But are we
left
cutting into
over,
their profits?
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with profits. Like, it doesn't, you can't just keep taking money out. You have to spend the money and get reimbursed for it. So they can't be like, oh, there's $10 million in there. I didn't do anything to earn that $10 million, but it's mine. Like,
No, but what I'm saying is that $10 million, when you say it's leftover, it's there at the end, right?
yes.
Then does that new developer have any claim to that money?
Sure, as long as they as long as they go spend $10 million on the project for eligible expenses,
So
then
that's-
they could absolutely get the second developer could absolutely get reimbursed for eligible expenses if they have some.
So
Doesn't exceed the total.
That doesn't exceed the total.
So that's why they're saying that it would hinder bringing in a second developer, because that's funds that developer could utilize.
But they get first chance anyway. They get first chance. It's only when they have submitted all of their receipts
Oh, I see what you're
for
saying.
reimbursement, and then there's money left over, then the original developer can do it. But
So it's money left over that they wouldn't be able to access.
correct.
There's never money left over.
Well, that's,
Which is
Let's
why
get
I
away
think
from that term.
I think that this is
Leftover
a,
money is not.
I think that this is a moot point because, yeah, there's never money left over.
Yep.
And we've
You're
never
gonna
done this.
maximize the benefit.
And we've never done this in any other TIF, so I'm confused on why suddenly we're looking for this caveat.
Because they requested it. Like, we can say no.
I'm sorry, but it seems to put a lot of onus on a new potential developer to have this fee or this reimbursable expense hanging over their head when they had nothing to do with it.
Go ahead, Todd.
How many instances would you envision where litigation or bankruptcy wasn't involved if there was a default by the original developer?
I have no idea.
Neither do I.
I'm just trying to think out loud. I'm trying to think of how many instances there would be where there would be any money left over to reimburse to
Right,
an original
none.
developer
None.
that didn't file bankruptcy or didn't default on this and there was subsequent litigation.
Like I said, I would think that this is a moot point because I don't think it would ever even get there.
Okay.
I can't imagine a scenario that it would.
I'm just thinking this in layman's term, in the mortgage industry of, if I own a house and I get my mortgage foreclosed on and they sell that house to the new owner, that owner shouldn't be liable for my late fees.
Or you what, Bob?
He isn't. He
For the
isn't.
mortgage I didn't pay. That's what it
isn't.
feels like to me, is suddenly you now owe more money or need to pay more money.
No.
You're taking over this property.
Absolutely
Well, no,
not.
they're not paying more money, but still, this is something that should have been cleared up before there's a transfer of sale or transfer to new developers. Not something at the end of the day.
It's reimbursable amounts, though.
I just can't wrap my head around why this is even part of the discussion. We've never done it before. I don't see why we would do it now.
If the board would prefer that we don't allow this, then we can move on.
Is that not what Mark and Jeff recommended? We do not allow it?
They're recommending that we do not allow it.
Okay, and, I mean, I was a negative on wanting to do this.
That was some of the emails that were provided. I
Yeah,
know, right.
that's what I thought, because the way I read theirs information and stuff, I'm opposed to it.
Okay.
I'd say no. No on 5.
Does everybody agree no on 5?
No one's fine.
Yes.
Weird, we just had it on.
Even today.
Just voted on that.
Five did just fail.
I voted
right.
yes on 5.
Hang on one second. Alderman McKay, do you have anything to add at this point?
No, I
Okay.
agree, no on that one.
Alderman Hoffman, go right ahead.
I guess I'm just not a hard no on it. If there was a way that Spikerman and Jeff White could say, look, there's this one scenario where, then I would be open to hearing it. But as constructed, no.
I can just tell you that I think Rebecca came up with the best compromise. And the email that you all got, Mark Spikerman still recommended against it. And if you want me to read it, I can. But it says, essentially, developer 1 is hampering the prospects of attracting a successful developer 2 by holding onto rights to a TIF allocation that would only actually result in cash if developer 2 can, against all odds, turn some leftover scraps into a gourmet feast. Sorry, Mark has a little bit of passion about this. Typically, I see cities want to give developer two, something more than leftover scrap so it has a better chance of delivering the gourmet feast, or two, not provide a defaulted developer one with a potential windfall at the end of the TIF that has no rational basis to expect when it fails to complete the promised project.
Can we at least track down if we've done this before with any other TIF? Because we don't seem to.
If we did, it was a mistake then.
They said no.
My vote.
No, they've already,
We can tell them no. It's like it's if,
No, but it would be
I
good
think how I'm
for,
counting the votes.
it would be
there's-
good
I
for
can
us
ask Mark
moving
if we have.
forward.
Mark's been involved on almost every one,
Yeah.
other than if you want to go all the way back to Pruitt's, which I know he wasn't involved in that one.
It would just be nice to have historical data on if we've done this before.
What about,
See what we can do.
Let's keep the topic to discussion only and not legal strategy or strategy and negotiations. So just the pros and cons of it, if you would, please.
Alderman George.
I think we've heard from all of us, so the developer's here, maybe let the developer talk and see what his thoughts are and why he wants to be in this position and have this. That's kind of what I'm
Sure.
if you want to speak. I mean, if you don't, then I don't care. I mean,
This again was another negotiated position.
Louder, Chris, I'm sorry.
No, this again was another negotiated position. The position of the development team is if an approved cost was spent, just to be reimbursed. And if for some reason there was a default, and if there was a subsequent developer and there's money to repay that portion of it, let's say a road's put in, that road gets repaid. This is not like as a windfall to the developer. It's simply repaying for expenses that were completed.
Mayor, can I?
Sure, go right ahead, Alderman Collins.
So I should probably have included this. When you said that, it occurred to me that I didn't talk about how we got here. So
Yes.
what they originally had requested, that anything that they spend on the project is reimbursable no matter what. So if they go in and spend $20 million, that $20 million is reimbursable. So how we originally had the RDA language was that anything that was, what they had asked for is anything that they've spent and we have certified it as reimbursable gets paid out when the development starts making enough money to pay it out, right? So, because there's a gap between when they spend it and when they can get paid. So what we have in the agreement, in Mark Spikerman's version of the agreement, is if it hasn't been paid out and then they default in that meantime, so they've spent it, we've approved it, they default, but the project isn't making any money to enable us to reimburse for it, then they do not get reimbursement at all, ever. There was a default, so it doesn't matter if that project starts spending money. This was the compromise that we kind of came up with that was, okay, if there's enough money left at the end, then and only then can you be reimbursed for it. So it was kind of a way to compromise them from saying, okay, we get nothing, or there is a chance that maybe we can get something 22 years from now. Is that pretty accurate?
The mechanism that we had in place was, if there's a dollar spent, let's say that the financing and the banks, the bondholders get their money reimbursed. I believe the main consideration here is that if there is for some reason a default and then bondholders are sitting there, without being able to have payment, again, I'm working off of all the different conversations, but it's just the capacity to repay people for expenses that were done. And
the argument they made in
there's
that-
no windfall.
Right. The argument that they made in that discussion was that they spend $50 million on infrastructure. The property is improved by $50 million or some percentage of that. That if they spend it on improving the property, then it is improved. So that's what we were trying to solve for, was bridging that gap that they get zero versus really tying the hands of a second developer, because if they can get full reimbursement for anything that they've already spent, no matter what, then it's going to be virtually impossible to get a second developer to come in and take over the project. If anything they've already spent, the TIF revenue is already spoken for. So the compromise that we came to was move it to the end, and the second developer, they have the entirety of the TIF at their disposal. If they do not use it, then and only then can it come back to reimburse them.
And there was a lot of discussion about other projects in the city and completion and different mechanisms. It's how do we safeguard with everybody? I felt that our original position, just to be reimbursed for expenses, was the easiest solution. But as far as how to word that in another format that everybody wants to discuss and have meetings, this is what we came up with. I mean, this was the negotiated position with everybody that was talking about it.
How would you, how would you anticipate valuing that? Let's say you had cost overruns and the roads, instead of costing $5 million, costed $7.5 million, and that was because of your administrative errors. What would you anticipate being your reimbursed amount?
So the anticipated reimbursement is based on approved numbers. So if the numbers are approved by the board or by the city and they go over, to me, that would potentially be just on the developer. I don't see, like you're talking about cost overruns, that's a different topic here because these are approved by the city costs.
I'm not sure that just for clarity, I'm not sure that we're going to approve costs based on, they're approved that you expended the cost. We're not going to approve the cost based on what we think is a reasonable amount to spend for that cost. That isn't part of our process. So overruns would be their overruns against their original budget, not necessarily about what we decide is the right value.
The bond monitor does that. They'll say whether this is a reasonable amount that they spent on it. Like, they can't go be like, hey, we spent $125 million on new roofs, and we're like, okay, here you go, TIF's done. Like, they can't, yes.
And I'm not real familiar with the bond process because we haven't done one since Pruitt and I wasn't around, so I'm not sure who all does what.
Yeah.
Alderman Esteen.
Just real quick, we keep talking worst case scenarios.
Yes.
But really, in a worst case scenario, if there's a secondary developer that's going to take over this project, how is that going to be achieved? Either it's going to be through a decisive sale, where basically the current developer is going to negotiate that sale price and include basically those reimbursable costs, or B, it's going to go through court proceedings where it's going to be a bankruptcy, which means you're screwed regardless. No one's getting any additional money. So I keep thinking, trying to wrap my head around what is the possibility and how would this actually go into another developer's hands to begin with? And in neither scenario do I see that there would really be an instance where the existing owner developer is going to be out of pocket, because one way you're going to get nothing through a bankruptcy proceeding or through a court receivership. The other one is, well, then you negotiate in the sale. I just can't see how it's going to the worst case scenario to get to the secondary developer.
But this was a negotiated position. Our position was, I felt, straightforward. It's if a cost is approved, the cost gets reimbursed. It was the endless discussion.
You can blame me, it's okay.
No. There was just a lot of conversations about, well, what if this? What if this? What if this? So this is where we are.
Okay.
And again, you're talking about something we don't anticipate happening. I don't even see this as a unlikely scenario.
But we can worst case 100 more caveats to this if we really want to.
Yeah, that's our focus is to get this project going.
Alderman Rucker.
I still feel this does not need to be part of the agreement, and it takes away the carrot to say, if you get it all done, and if you get it all completed, and you're still here in 23 years, and you've done good, hopefully in 20 years you're saying, oh, we're done because we've been paid off. That's the carrot. And this, to me, hampers that carrot. So I'm still opposed to that being.
No on 5, got it.
Anybody concerned with what Rebecca or Alderman Collins just stated? Okay, we're moving on. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate your time. All right, next is staff communications. We're going to start with City Treasurer Carrie Bell, because I think I forgot her last time, so I apologize.
I don't have anything this evening.
All
Thank
right,
you.
City Planner Carrie Patterson.
I've said enough, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Works Director Jeff Fisher.
Nothing, Mayor, thank you.
All right, Parks Manager Eric Gregory.
Parks movie night tomorrow night, City Park, Baseball Field 1 at 8:30, and we are showing The Incredibles, and it is a free event, so bring the kids out and have fun.
All right, Airport Manager Ty Dinsdale.
Thank you. Just in case anybody's looking for me, the next couple of weeks I'll be out of the office. Next week on vacation, back to work for a couple days, and then I will be at the Four States Airport Conference in Kansas City after that. If anybody needs to track me down, I will have my phone with me if I'm within cell service, and I guarantee I'll be paying 100% of the hotel tax wherever I'm at.
Building Official Ron White.
I have nothing, thank you.
All right, we'll head down there. Chief of Police Todd Davis.
We moved into the communication center downstairs after the last board meeting. Still a few things on a punch list, but they're up and running and love it down there. Nice.
Thank you.
All.
All right. City Clerk Carter Brett.
No, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Interim City Attorney Todd Miller.
Nothing further.
Okay. Interim City Administrator April White.
The only thing I have is just reminding the board, or check your email if you haven't this afternoon. I sent out an email about the fiscal year 2027 budget process and detailed the budget workshops and the dates and the times and how that's going to roll. So check that out and let me know if you have any questions. And Tara will get invites sent out for those soon.
Very good, thank you. Alderman Osteen.
Well, I have a lot to say. Actually, I don't. I had a really big speech worked up tonight to discuss my absence from this board for the last several weeks, but I'm going to defer that speech for a later date. All I'm going to state at this point is truth and justice can and does prevail. So there will always be detractors, there will always be negativity, but I hold my head up high and just keep plowing forward. Thank you for your support. That's all.
Alderman George.
No, I don't have anything, thanks. I just want to go home.
No worries. Alderman Collins.
You guys have heard me speak a lot tonight, so I'll keep it very short and sweet. I'm very happy to have Alderman Osteen back, but this side of the dais finally feels filled back up. It's felt rather lonely over here for a while.
Hey.
Chopped liver. Yes, that's all. Like I said, you've heard me talk enough tonight.
Very good. Alderman Hoffman.
I just want to thank Alderman Collins and the mayor and Chris Foster and his team. We've all been working hard on this, but you guys have been putting in the extra effort. Just want to say thanks to all of you guys. And I want to congratulate all the people who just won their elections, and to those who perhaps didn't win but were out there trying hard. This was a very great turnout by Camden County. A lot of people voted. And I think that there's some new blood coming that's going to be good for our area. That's it.
Alderman McKay.
I just want to second Alderman Hoffman. I appreciate the hard work the mayor and Alderman Collins is doing with the project and commend the staff. So thank you for letting me be on Zoom this evening.
Thank you. Glad you could join us. That technology is wonderful many times. Alderman Rucker.
Yes, I do. And it happens to be about the subject we just talked about and spent the last hour or so talking about. I think we forgot something. What's the next step? We are going to have an ordinance prepared and a first reading and a second reading. And there's some options on how we do that. I have some thoughts on how we can do it, but where are we going to go with that? Are we going to make some decisions on that tonight?
We can. One of the things, and I appreciate bringing it up, I was going to bring it up if it didn't come up before.
I don't want to get it forgotten.
August, I had it wrote down here. We could have a special meeting, I think, Alderman Collins feels like that we can, you know, we'll work on it as best we can. We're going to have to get an ordinance through Mark Spikerman probably for this. It's going to have to be negotiated. We can go ahead and set a date for, I think it's August 18th. Is that the Tuesday before our next scheduled meeting? Where we could put this on the agenda if people feel comfortable that we can get it done and have it prepared in time to get it on the agenda. When would you need that, Tara?
I would need that by, if it's a Tuesday, I would need it by next Wednesday.
What, the 18th?
If you're gonna put it on the 18th, I have to get the packet out.
What about the 20th?
Well, we can wait for the 20th. The idea was we can do it on the 18th and we could go through it. If we got first reading done, then we could do the second reading on the 20th and have it done by the 20th. Or we can spend more time.
I'm okay. 18th.
Go ahead, it's
I
your
don't like
time.
that idea. I'll be very honest. First of all, there's a couple options I think we have, and one of those all hinge on Mr. Spikerman, on when he can prepare the ordinance. Personally, I think having a meeting on the 18th to do the first reading and the 20th to do the second reading I don't like that because the only reason you're doing a first reading one meeting and the second is to give time. You're giving 2 days. That's not enough. If we're going to do that, let's do the first and second reading on the 20th. It's not like we haven't talked about this thing forever and ever and ever. So we just do both readings on the same night. Or we take, and if Spikerman is prepared, we do a special meeting next Thursday. If he can be ready for us by Thursday, we have a special meeting next Thursday, the 13th, do the first reading. That gives you a week, and then we do the second reading on the 20th. Those would be my two suggestions.
I won't be here on the next week. I'm on vacation out of town.
Okay, well, we could go ahead and do it. We can
Whatever,
have a
the
meeting.
board's pleasure.
That's not a problem. According to the ordinance, I'll be happy to quote you the exact number, but according to the ordinance, the 4 board members can have a meeting. And one of those 4 board members will nominate somebody to run that meeting just for that meeting. And we have an ordinance that allows us to do that, so we can have a meeting and facilitate it. So that would solve the problem of the 13th, the mayor's absence. And
I prefer that we wait till the 20th in that scenario, to be quite honest. But, does anyone have a concern in waiting till the 20th for the first reading and then just doing the second reading the same night? Alderman Osteen.
My only concern is so much of this hinges on Spikerman that I feel.
Oh, I'm sure he'll be done.
If the document's ready, the ordinance for the document, I don't think is going to take that much time.
Okay.
If I think there's going to be, if anything, there's probably more time involved for getting the document and agreed upon that we feel like the developers will sign too. I'm not saying that's significant.
I think we'll have that done tomorrow.
But I'm open whenever. I prefer not to be the 13th. That's my birthday. So.
Alderman Hoffman.
I just don't think we should do a first and second reading. I know I bang away at this all the time, but I have a feeling we're gonna be in there talking about it at length. And then the first and second reading doesn't mean anything. And you need a little bit of time to digest that information. I would be more inclined to have a special meeting a week before, because even just a couple days is valuable. Not to mention, I've stood my ground on first and second readings from day one, and now one of the most important things we've ever decided comes up. I'm going to waver on that. I can't do that.
Well, I would just ask the board's pleasure. Well, then let's do August 20th as the first reading. We'll do a meeting August 27th for the second. That's a week, or do you want to wait 2 weeks then?
No.
As soon as possible.
I say that sorry.
Alderman George.
Special session.
Special session next week, like Kevin Record had suggested, and then the 20th when we have our meeting. We finish it up, so we do the first reading on the 13th, that's what you were suggesting, and then we do the second reading on the 20th on our stated meeting.
The only thing we got to understand is it hinges on Spikerman.
Fair.
And if Mark, we don't know what Mark's workload is. And that's, if Mark can't be it, then we'll have to go different.
Can I suggest we get with
Alderman
Mark?
Collins.
Sorry. Can I suggest that we get with Mark Spikerman tomorrow and see where we are and if we're going to be able to get it done in time for Tara to put it together and post it and be ready? Can we do that and then take it from there?
I think that's a good plan. We've got to, it's.
Okay.
We will check with Mark Spikerman in the morning. He told me that
And
between.
can we still not have get the special session on there, and we can cancel it if we had to be, right?
But-
I just 24 hours notice, and
Yeah.
so you just need time to get my packet out. So if I can know by, if you want to see the new RDA, I can send it to you. If I get it done by the 11th and then you get it on the 13th, yeah, I can, that's not a big deal.
Okay.
I'll placehold it.
Point of order,
sense.
all we got to do is have two of us to say we want to have a special meeting, and we don't have to make that decision now. We just have to make that decision 48 hours ahead of time and notify Tara there's two of us that want a meeting. So we don't have to make that decision now. We can make a plan, but we don't have to make the decision.
Okay.
I want to make sure what we're solving for. We're solving for Mark Spikerman having something ready by what date for what date of meeting?
The 13th for an executive session to do a first reading, is that what we discussed?
So you would need it on the
Executive session.
11th or the
Not
12th?
We wouldn't do an
executive session.
Hang
We
on,
would just
slow
have a
down.
No,
session.
it's not
Spikerman
executive.
would have to
special
have it
session,
done
not
on the
executive, special
11th for a
session.
meeting on the 13th.
Mark, it's all, or we go back to what the mayor said, we have it on the 20th and the 27th.
I think we give them days.
Can-
And
can-
if you can't make it happen, then we go to the 20th.
Can I point an order on this real quick? I think we should strive to have everybody here because I don't really want to see us get into a 3-2 vote scenario with something this big. Not to mention, it could be that someone gets sick and can't make that meeting. Then all of a sudden, we've got 4 people here. I would like to get this done as quick as possible, but I think the 20th and the 27th is really the best option here because I really don't think it's a good idea to end up having 4 people here. And
So I think that,
Six.
if the determination is that everybody wants to go early, so be it. But I want to at least address why I don't think it's the best option.
Gotcha.
Alderman McKay, do you have anything on this? I haven't heard from you yet.
I'm just listening. I'll go either way. I know I'm back in town, so.
Alderman Collins.
I would rather not make the developers wait until the 27th if we can avoid it. So I absolutely feel the concerns. I would also like to have everybody here. The only thing that I can say is let's schedule it for the 13th. If it becomes a situation that people are sick or whatever, we can always table it to the next meeting.
That's true.
Yes.
I hate.
Agreed.
Right, and yeah, and it's only the first reading. I think it's imperative that we have everybody present for the second reading, without a doubt. But I think it's unfair to the developer to make them wait another week.
I have a feeling, though, you are creating a scenario where the tabling is the most likely option.
Well, and
So-
then, but then we tried. Then we did
Okay.
everything we could and we
Fair
tried.
enough. Fair enough.
We'll talk to Mark Spikerman tomorrow.
I don't have a problem with pushing to the 20th, 27th. I don't think we're being unfair to the
I don't think
developer.
we're making any significant difference.
Yeah, I don't think,
Let's see what Mark Spikerman says tomorrow, please.
All right. Okay, Kevin, it was still your floor. Was
nope,
there
that was
anything
all
else
I
that you
had.
have?
That was it.
Okay. So I have a few things. I'll try to be quick. I know it's been a long meeting. I'll try to be very brief. First of all, with the spirit of always recognition, I want to recognize Rob Long and the transportation team. We've had an issue ongoing over on Levengood towards the end of Passover, where I got a call. Whenever I get a call from a citizen that says they did a great job, I want to make sure that that gets out there. And they did some work out there to resolve a drainage issue near Levengood on Passover. And apparently, please, Jeff, make sure that Rob and them know that we recognize what they did out there. Okay. Also want to recognize Kerry Patterson and Jeff Fisher for their work on the Lacey Fine Airport acquisition, if you will, or agreement. We've been doing some work on that. We're making some progress. We're getting quite a ways. I still need to come talk with you, Todd, about something. I wrote your name down as a reminder on something on that, but we are progressing. You guys have been great assets in that process, okay? Lastly, Alderman Osteen's back.
Yeah.
We have, him and I have had several conversations in the past, and I just want to be on record that I think it's in best, as I've told him more than once, it is in the best interest of the city of Osage Beach that with his situation that he resign. Many people have felt like we should be able to force him to resign. We can't. That is not the way, as it should be. But still, I think that it's in the best interest of the Osage, the city and this board, that he does not continue to serve until his judicial issues are resolved. I have talked to at least 100 people on this subject because it comes up a lot. And most people thought he had already resigned, but he has not, okay? And in the end, what I don't think that we're recognizing is what most people think should happen. But that is his prerogative. And to stay quiet on this, I want to make sure that the public doesn't feel like I condone this, because a lot of folks are going, why haven't you not asked for his resignation? That resignation has been asked for several times since the very beginning of the process. With that said, though, he is here. He has every right to serve, and I will work with him with the respect that office should have, and that will not, the situation will not affect how we work together. Just want to make sure and get that out there. Sorry, I've been quiet for this for a long time for many, many reasons, and I believe the time is right. With all that said, I have nothing else. I just need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Everyone have a great weekend. Thank you.
Hi.